Well, chat, it seems we have a problem in our little corner of the internet. I lied. This is not, in fact, a stream. Y'all are instead here for an intervention, and I have the wrong setup. Shut up. Shut up. Anyway, y'all have a fucking caffeine. No, not get your ass back here, Ordain. Put down the monster can. Put down the Red Bull. We're here to talk about your problems today. I lied. We're not actually going to play a game today. We're here to talk about your caffeine addiction. Come to watch for the first time and suddenly there's a problem? No, I'm just picking on you, Angedia. No, you're totally fine here. No. So if y'all aren't in the Discord, we've been having a thrashing. I'm gonna call it a thrashing. Because some of y'all have a caffeine problem, and because I am partnered with GamerSupps, and because I'm not a dirty, stinking capitalist, I feel like I need to tell y'all to moderate yourselves, you jackasses. I don't have a caffeine addiction. I have ADHD. That is not an excuse. I don't do the caffeine. Carrie, I could have sworn you told me that you had, like, was it energy drinks before, or have you since stopped that? We cannot stop my soda is... My soda in coffee. Soda in coffee? What? My dude. You can't tell me what to do, Zella. You're fucking cold. I love that smut. Wait, is that actually a Monster can? Oh my god, it is. Man, could you imagine me hyped up on Monster? I don't think I want to live through a world that's like that. Consume caffeine in moderation. The thing is we like, okay, so if y'all don't know, we're partnered with GamerSupps. GamerSupps has a label on it that specifically says that you should not drink more than 4 scoops of GamerSupps in a day. And there is at least one person who does 4 scoops or more and then has a Red Bull on top of it. That's Nomad. Nomad has that. There's other people that have told me that they do multiple scoops of GamerSupps. I live under the policy that I should only have like 1 flavored drink a day. If that. Most of the time I have water. A water bottle over here. But when I go to the gym, I usually take GamerSupps with me, and I only do 2 scoops. 2 scoops maximum. Brain implosion energy. Oh my god. Guns? Let's go guns. Oh yeah, in the back. Yeah, my guns. Don't look at my guns too long. They'll look back. I only do the Dr. Pepper in the waters. Art Sunstar, but how much Dr. Pepper? How much Dr. Pepper? Sunstar. I can't drink soda, so I stayed clear from all caffeine things. 2 scoops is what I call the what? The what? What is it, Thadric? What is it? What is the boo? The boo? The boo what? Too much caffeine can take a toll on your heart, just saying. That is exactly it. That is exactly the problem. GamerSupps telling you that you should not take more than 4 scoops a day does not mean you need to rush to having 4 scoops first thing in the morning. I can't even imagine what 4 scoops of GamerSupps in 1 cup tastes like, dude. I've never done more than 2. Never. Not once. I'm fine with my caffeine intake. I did. No, you don't, Androx. And Death Wish. Not the Death Wish coffee. Oh, no. Oh, no. Androx, please. Anything with labeled consumption amount makes kidneys cry? Correct. The average American can have about 400 milligrams of caffeine. And that's a lot still. Like, you should really only have, if you're an everyday caffeine drinker, like 100 milligrams. 100 milligrams. Because even constant doses of caffeine at low levels is enough to cause problems. 4 scoops of Supps is 1 cup. Sounds like you like your gamer juice with the... Okay, I need that as a meme. That needs to be a meme, and somebody needs to fucking tag GamerSupps in it. I say a year, I wasn't counting. You can't make me stop drinking water. I'm proud of you for drinking water. Just as long as you're not the weird ladies on TikTok who say, this is my water of the day, and then they pull out their Stanley cup and then pour in a whole bunch of Crystal Light and just extra sugar and a bunch of other shit. And they're like, that's my water of the day. And it's like 6,000 calories. All in sugar. Listen, pulp adds great flavor. Listen, I like pulp in my juice, okay? If I have orange juice, I prefer it with pulp. That's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Reads me dumbass message and just sends her like it's... How do you like your gamer subs? With pulp. What do you mean with pulp? I don't know, like 6 scoops, one like 16-ounce cup. It's fine. Can you imagine somebody pulling out like chemistry with gamer subs and just being like, how much gamer subs can we super dissolve into a liquid? So if anybody doesn't know, I forget what the exact word for it is. Palm would probably be able to tell me or remind me. But if you increase the temperature of water or any liquid, technically that's capable of dissolving certain things, you can dissolve more into the water. Which is why, like, has anybody ever made like rock candy before in their lives? Yeah, super saturated. You would essentially make the water super saturated, which means likely when the water cooled down, I'm gonna guess the sugar in gamer subs would probably recrystallize. Don't give Nomad ideas. Oh no. If my carnival favorite subs aren't majority of the subs, you're doing it wrong. Listen, I wish we had carnival themed subs. No carnival themed subs yet. We're a long way away from that. We'd have to make it past a cup first. You have to make it past, you have to make it past, like 1,250, I think. Let me actually see. I think I can pull that up. Because I know it's on the, oh, what the hell? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Do I remember my password for Gamer Scrubs? Is it my business email? Okay, it is. It is. Hooray! Oh, hey, y'all have used 5 orders. Holy shit. Oh, wow. Y'all spent a lot. 2 different orders at $144. Actually, this is a very good thing because I can actually email them, and because like that's $100 in total for me from those 5 orders. And I kind of need it this month. I have bad news, chat. I got my Twitch payout last night. Gamer Schweppes, not Gamer Schweppes. Oh my god, peppermint gamer schnapps versus Carnival Dry. Listen. Hi, Grins. Schmello. But I got my Twitch payout last night, and it was $397. And my bills for this month were $325. Yay. Mix and gulp until you're overstimulated? I would rather not. Pog, oof. Yeah. Speaking of Twitch payouts, Twitch, you're only 50 subs from Baron playing more Hello Kitty. That's true. This is probably the closest we've been in a long time to filling out that sub goal. Me when Hype Train. Me when Hype Train. Listen, you never know. It could be, what are they called again? The treasure trains. The new thing that Twitch is making, which is like, I think if it's a treasure train, once you reach, I think it's like level 5, the entire channel gets, I think it's like 35% off bulk. That'll do. Kofi, never heard of it. The tier 2-3 subs get benefits in the Discord. The thing is, I feel bad because like I has no monies. But then also like we're doing the house fund thing up there. And I don't want to like put any extra money into my pocket until after we've paid like the 2,000. It's also when it comes to subs. So I got paid last night basically for last month. And last month, I think our sub count was like in the 70s or 80s. And it was in that up until before the debut. But thank you so much, Retain. It really does mean a lot. Baron, go Rupsy. Wait, what? Baron, you could have just gone with Baron, go bankruptcy. But no, I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad off. I do still have the savings that's been put aside for like my flight to Norway and stuff, but I really don't want to touch that. I really, really don't want to touch that. House funds, yeah, house funds. Do we need to pull up the board? I'll get the board. We'll need to tap the sign. We'll need to tap the sign momentarily. Let me just. Okay. Hold on. The desk. There we go. Desk's gone. Oh God. Hold on. Is this still on? Okay, this is still on the right page. All right, guys, here's the incentive still. I should make an Imgur page for this, I think. Imgur. This is mine. I'm pretty sure it's Imgur. I've always called it Imgur, as in it's like image. And don't you worry, guys. We're not done talking about your caffeine problem. We're still going to come back to that. This is just a little more important right now. Get Hello Kitty on the Ko-Fi goals, but someone wanted it to be subs. You know, at the way we're going, if I leave it as a sub goal and y'all hit it probably like 2 or 3 months in a row, I'm probably going to have to get a Hello Kitty model, aren't I? Y'all are going to make me get a Hello Kitty just for these streams. Just for these incentivized streams. It's not a caffeine problem, it's a caffeine solution. That's true. What is it, the solution? Okay, I get it. It's a chemistry joke. I get it. It is, in fact, a caffeine solution. We need it. Marin goes sheep. Oh, no. I could probably find somebody. There's probably somebody out there that does, like, Hello Kitty style models. We need it. Wait, what's the new keyboard? Next week, your vacation money. Oh, did you, do y'all do the thing where, like, if you don't take vacation days, you get, like, paid out for those days as if it was, like, paid days off? Is that what it is? I don't have a caffeine problem as I'm currently sucking on caffeine. Gamer subs good juice? Oh, no, goop juice, I'm guessing is what that is. I have a canister of goop juice. It was actually one of the flavors I bought for myself that they didn't give me. It's kind of getting clammy. You know, like when like powdered stuff kind of starts to get old and gets crusty. But it's still pretty good. It's probably up there with one of my favorite flavors. 0.7 times my salary. Oh, okay. Gotcha. I don't have caffeine issue. Drinks large cup of trucker coffee. Hey, listen, as long as it's not like, hold on. We need the cup. The cup, if you will. Let me, where is it? Compress gamer steps until caffeine jawbreakers. Okay, hold on. Yeah. This is what we need. No, that's not it. I need the... I need the giant, son of a bitch. What was it called? What were those cups called? Thermal mug? Ah, here it is. Here it is. I found it. Get this out of here. There you go. This is what you need, baby. Don't actually do this. Don't actually do this, kids. Who the fuck remembers these? There's also a Tim Hortons one. Get this Stanley ass shit out. That's a Warrior Cats. There we go. There's the mega gulp. Oh my god, Ron John Surf Shop. But yeah, I remember when people fucking ran around with these. I sent you something for the cup. Uh-oh. Not the double gulp cup, Jesus. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Sniffles, thank you for 36 months. Favorite Malin, I am the one and only. I am, in fact, the... Oh my god, you'll start a hype train. Oh my god, you'll start a hype train. Oh god, the thermostat can fit an entire pot of coffee in it. I remember those well from my time in the USMC. I remember this because I worked at a gas station when I was a senior in high school. And guys would come in with these, and we had like a soda fountain. We had a soda fountain that was basically, I think it was like, if you bring your own cup or you bring an old cup of ours, which we literally just had like basic white styrofoam cups, you could come in and get a refill for $0.25, regardless of how much it was, of like whatever drink it was, as long as it was on our soda fountain. It's a train, emotes and Hello Kitty train. Oh no. Oh no. But, oh, what was it? The, I will take one slushie, please. We didn't have slushies. This was not actually, you know what, chat? This place is closed down permanently. So let me see if I can actually find a picture. If I could find an old picture of the place I used to work. Oh, no, I didn't want to go to maps. I wanted images. That is not it. That is also not it. Okay, let's go back. Fine, we'll go to like business section. See photos. Okay, this is the... Here you go, chat. Can I get this bigger? There we go. This is the gas station I used to work at. We had 4 pumps. Of course, you can see a door. You see where that 201 is in the background? It's kind of hard to see. But that 201, whoops. That 201 there is the door right behind the cash register, which is right here. It's that door. This is... That may actually be a guy that I went to high school with in that picture. You want to take a picture because I won't remember fastball the way. Listen, this register area has been exactly the same since when I worked there. Like nothing here has changed. The same old tiger picture on top, the same stuffed animal, the same like rundown wood panel walls. But also, here's the coolers that I used to refill and stuff. These things are old, janky, and kind of terrifying to be behind. City give my AC on. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Chilled gamer vibes. Thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Also, Androx, thank you for the 100 bits. Holy shit. All right. Up. But yeah, you can also see a Bud Light pinup on this wall here. That's the janitor closet. It's kind of hard to see here. I don't think I can get... Y'all can see her, right? She's wearing like weird pants that are like tied together and stuff. This is our grocery section. It was all chips and like sweetbreads and stuff. And then some, I always think it's funny that all of our car stuff was directly under all of our like bread stuff. Yeah. Full service gas station. So we would come out, we would pump your gas. We would clean your windshield if we had enough time. And if you asked, we would check your tire pressure. But yeah, this is my old hometown.
Making the mother of all omelets here, Jack. Cast bread over every egg.
Proud of yourself, aren't you, Ordain? Proud of yourself, aren't you? But yeah, this was my old hometown. This is my first job I ever had. First real job I ever had. Slippery little bastards. Hi, Garuda. Oh. Everyone drinks some caffeine for 5 hours straight. All right, but only if it's like drip fed and like doesn't go above 100 milligrams. Thank you for the follow, Garuda. But yeah, this was... Yeah, you could see how much of a junker this place is. The thing was, this was the only gas station that was like inside town. All of the other gas stations were all like up against the highway. So, you know. Actually, hold on a second. If anybody's ever been on like I-35, this is, you can find, you may know my hometown, but only from here. This is the check stop. If you've ever been on I-35 or seen like the famous signs or anything, or seen like billboards that are like, don't wait for West Texas. This is it. This is the place that they always tell you about. The thing is though, also this is the I-35 bridge. You know what I hate the most? You want to know something that I hate the most? You see this guy, the guy on the far right dancing with the lady? I know the guy that's modeled after. That guy was 1 grade older than me in high school, and he was an absolute fucking asshole. So far up his own ass, and somehow thought he was the shit because he knew how to polka dance. Don't ask me how he grew that ego. I will never understand how you could think you're the shit because you can polka dance. But yeah, this place is known for its kolaches. The sad thing is though, who the fuck are you and what is up with your facial hair? But yeah, don't trust this bakery because all the stuff that's in... Huh? Goku. You could never have told me where this 20-second clip was gonna go. You never could have told me where this clip was gonna go. What are some of these things? Goku in my old hometown where I grew up. Blah 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 blah. Goku. That was not on my bingo card. Just starts flipping through the paper. I didn't write this down. What the fuck? But yeah, the stuff is pretty decent. But the thing is, most of the stuff in these boxes are at least 3 days old. Nearly every person in my high school ends up working here at least once. Jalapeno peanut brittle, anyone? Beef skeletons. I like that. I like that name. Gotta love small town TV advertising. I emerged from the mines. Hi, Fang. Check stop. Oh my god, they still have the same two guys. But yeah, they sell so much like pre-packaged, like various check foods. Also, up here on the top, you can't really see them super well. Those are jalapeno croutons. I used to go there to buy those bags. It was like $2 and they were the shit. I ate them like they were fucking chips. They were so damn good. And I'm pretty sure it's because they were swollen with butter. But yeah. Oh, I remember these muffins too. The blueberry muffins. The dude in the suit cosplaying like former wrestler turned commentator Taz. All right, Faye, you need to see this video. Even with the thumbnail, I did not know where this was going. I'm not going to unmute it. I'm not going to unmute it for this. Goku. Welcome to a Czech bakery with a dude that looks like bootleg or punk Howie Mandel, and then some dude dressed as Goku comes in. I picked the I-35 up in Kansas. Yeah, this is Central Texas. This is the town called West in Central Texas. Don't get it confused. But yeah, this is like the icon of kind of my hometown. So if you've ever been through West, this is usually what we're known for because it's like right on the highway. Here's the average Saturday morning. Just in case you needed to know, here's the average Saturday morning. Here it is outside if you haven't seen it before. But instead, if you're going southbound on I-35, you can go to, give me a second. Let me try to remember it. That's not it. Slovachiks. Literally right across the highway on the opposite side is this. This is Slovachiks. It's a meat market. I would consider this, if you ever go in here, consider it a mini Buc-ee's. This is basically a mini Buc-ee's. The nearest Buc-ee's is about 30 miles north, just outside of Hillsboro, if you're still coming down 35. And then the next one is like an hour, 45 minutes to an hour later in Temple. Never seen a Goku around the carnival? Point Bakery? Point Bakery. Also, they have a dog park. And some shitty, like, lawn stuff. They get into every holiday. They have some crazy stuff for the holiday. Thank you guys for the hype train. Oh, shit, I still got a chest? Oh, shit. Tea! I get the tea. All right. Yeah. Slovachiks. They also sell stuff in grocery stores. So if you ever see the Slovachik thing, it's this company. It's the same company. They also kind of tend to have the best gas prices in town, so a lot of people go here to get gas. But yeah, it's like it's kind of a mini grocery store and mini, okay, wait, that's a good emote. That's a good emote. Respectfully, no. I have looked at all of these already. Damn it. Damn it. Mind blown because of brain implosion energy. Oh, no. But yeah, you can see how much more pictures there are of this place already. Like, they actually took pictures of unmade kolaches, which is actually kind of cool. Wait, what song is this? Ah, fine. We'll leave Sleep Token on. We'll leave Sleep Token on. But, oh yeah. Can't forget the stuffed pigs. Don't think about it too hard, chat. Don't think about it too hard. It's so Texan it hurts. But does Goku shop? Okay, you make an excellent point. I don't know if Goku shops there. I don't know also they have barbecue. Their barbecue's pretty good. My sister is obsessed with their barbecue, so she tries to get it anytime she can. But that's kind of it. What is a kolache? Thank God. Thank God. They actually tell people it's not the meat ones. Thank God. Also fudge. They have fudge and they have frozen yogurt. So yeah, if you're going down I-35, check out Slovaceks instead of Czech Stop. It's totally not because I have a vendetta against the owners of Czech Stop for no reason whatsoever that y'all don't need to know about. Anyway, house fun donathon. Right as you said, it's so Texan it hurts. Hi, terrible Texan. Oh no, the only thing I was talking about was, hold on. I was talking about having, like this, having longhorns and then like stuffed pigs on the wall. You know, performative Texanness. I will never step foot in American soil. Too much shit going on there. I agree, Ordain. I don't think you should if you don't have to. Unless this place suddenly becomes like a utopia compared to where you live, I think you nailed it. I think you won the like birth lottery right now. I think you did. I think you nailed it. I don't think you have anything to worry about. Mostly. Only how much they're gonna fuck up your weird little like urinals. Your public urinal places. How funny that your hometown is West Central Texas, though mine is Marshall, Virginia. Blink and you missed it town. That's kind of mine. That's mainly because like the town is, well, until after I graduated. I do know now there's like a McDonald's and a Starbucks that wasn't there when I went there. Still wouldn't go to either of those places. But I still remember when I was in like high school, they said that there was a Whataburger. A Whataburger was going to come to town, and there is still no Whataburger. I know. That's what I was here. Hold on. Where is it? Let me find. All right, there it is. Son of a fucking slut. Yeah, sure. Turn off for this site. And it still tries to play an ad. Oh no, I have to sit through an ad.
My name's Harry, and I'm no expert.
I don't care who you are, Henry. All right, chat. Time to learn about public urinals in Amsterdam.
And public urinals matter, especially. But there's one country in the world
yes.
that does public urinals like no other.
There you go.
And that country is the Netherlands.
Thank God. Thank God. What I think is doing high constructs. Yeah, Amsterdam, baby. Listen, he's going to talk about different varieties, okay? He'll talk about different varieties. Do you not think these are cool? Wait until you find out more about them. Hold on. You know what, chat? This
Going
is it.
back centuries,
it's like 8 minutes.
The Dutch have had an intimate relationship with
Brutalist
water
urinal?
management.
No.
And in cities like Amsterdam, the Dutch had to construct specific forms of
Cuts
water
down on public
management
urination?
hardware
Yes.
to withstand drunk British males.
This entire video just attacks like drunk British men, and it's my favorite.
Holding all other variables equal, when presented with an open environment and the need to
I'm gonna say, in case you can't tell what these are, these white boxes are the fucking spaces at which people will piss in public. P5, meaning it has about a 50% likelihood that this is where they are going to piss, just right on the side of a dumpster.
urinate, certain locations have a much higher probability of being chosen.
For about a
includes
40%,
common
about a
objects like trees
1%
or
for a
alleys.
sleeping dog. No!
But in the Netherlands, there's a unique object that presents a unique danger. On a late night in Amsterdam,
We piss where
a
we
man
can,
finds
but
the
you have the
slow
best
grey running
public
water of
bathrooms in the
canals
fucking
a bit
world.
too hard to ignore. He walks over, disoriented and unstable, and also a bit too confident.
Yeah, in case you
he
didn't
unzips
know.
his fly and releases,
And
only to get lightheaded and stumble
Meow.
and fall into the cold canal below.
Surprise, time for cold
There's
shock.
no way back. Cold and increasingly aware of what's happening,
I just
the
penis
noise
is
of
out.
other loud British tourists drown out the sounds of his drowning.
In case you didn't know, that is actually a big problem. I've never seen it, but I wouldn't put it past the British to do so. I go at home. You what? You go at home. Okay, not ad. At home. Gotcha. That makes sense. But I mean, these are also typically like tourist because these are throughout. He'll cover it. He'll
Amsterdam's
cover it.
red light district is a notorious tourist attractor.
Yeah, the red light district.
Since alcohol consumption increases the need to urinate and
Why do they?
self-confidence.
Why does
there have been
this? Why does
multiple
this
piss-related
neon light have a
drownings
bladder?
in the Netherlands? Piss-related
Multiple
drownings
piss.
are one of the most
Remember,
significant
kids,
causes
don't become a
of
statistic,
drownings each
especially if
year,
it's in the Amsterdam
with victims
canals.
easily being identifiable due to their unzipped flies. Alcohol reduces your blood pressure.
His pants
Emptying
were down,
bladder
Your
quickly
Honor.
reduces it even more. Combine both with
No,
unstable
there we
footing,
go. Thank you, Rick.
and a wandering drunk tourist has a much higher risk of falling into a canal.
It's always a red light. What about
Once
the other
fallen,
colors? I
they have
mean,
the added problem that a canal
It'll be
is
fine.
not easy to climb out of.
multi-piss?
And
I
being
have the
inebriated
multi-piss.
reduces motor function while making you more likely to swallow dangerous amounts of water.
Yeah, piss-related drownings, kids.
In an attempt to
Drink
reduce
responsibly.
piss-induced drownings, the Dutch have had to come up with a genius solution.
And here you go.
This
This is when
is
he's
the
about to just
Plascurl,
suck the dick out of
also
whoever
known
designed
as the
this
piss
fucking
girl.
bathroom.
A
Mara, thank you for doing your
phenomenal
season
example
pass.
of Dutch
I
urban
got
planning
rid of
and
them for
design.
now. Once we get partner,
When
I'll
looking
bring
at
them
this
back.
map of Amsterdam, you can
I bring
see
them
that the
back, I
Plascurl
promise.
is
If not,
strategically
better
built
than
near
ever.
water,
'Cause
and
I
at
do wanna
places
get
with
ashy
the largest
emotes.
number of British tourists.
Hi, Faye.
The highest concentration of krills can be found in the
Krills.
heart of the red
Krills.
light district. And the
I like
krill's
krills.
design is just as impressive as its planning. It's shaped in the form of a golden ratio. Sheets of affordable, long-lasting cast iron metal are bent into a beautiful curve.
It's totally fine. It's totally
There's
great.
also an open bottom so that it's clear to others whether the krill
I
is
like
in
that these
use,
guys are also
and it
just
does
like
it without
drunk,
revealing
stumbling
the
towards it.
self-conscious user. Although the exact secrets behind the Plascurl's design are lost in time, it's undeniable.
I like that
the
the
inventors
captions
were
don't know how to spell it,
geniuses.
so it just says kills.
The legs of the Plascurl are in the shape of a bladder. Amsterdam is an international
Yes,
city,
that is
attracting
totally
people
the
from multiple
reason.
different backgrounds.
It
and
totally
languages,
looks like a bladder.
were the bladder legs
Yes.
designed so as to make it intuitively clear to all that it was built for urination.
Also, if you can't tell, this
We'll
is
never
this is a
know.
video about him
The
literally
krill is
taking the
also a lot
piss.
more welcoming and clearly superior to the hard angle public urinal. The design should obviously be soft and welcoming. No,
This
Oh,
is
oh, fuck you! I
the
hate that I have to have
first
ads
fully
now.
immersive sleep system.
I have to have
Intelligent,
ads until they update the fucking
not hard and cool.
until all my ad blockers fucking update. So we have to suffer with this
The dark
bullshit.
green also makes it blend in naturally within the cityscape. Better a
And also
urinal
the
that's
X's,
natural
like
to
the
use,
Amsterdam flag.
and one that brings large amounts of attention to you. The designers also made it so that the Plascurl
Now I'm using
delicately
Opera
combines
GX.
both elements of municipal and national branding. On some of the older metal frames, you can find St. Andrew's crosses. This serves a tri-function,
I still
advertising the city of
can't
Amsterdam,
tell if-
ensuring ventilation, and giving a clear-eyed view of the street to the vulnerable user.
and make eye contact with any other
Zoom
drunken
out,
stranger that
and
happens to
then
be
you begin
passing
to
by,
see
so
the
you can
strong
assert your
national
dominance
design
still.
elements,
Isn't that right,
combining
boys?
both the Dutch tiling tradition as well as bricks, like
More
they locally
tiles,
sourced
more
from the Rhine.
clankers.
The Plascurl
Clinkers.
is the best krill.
Ordained is it clinkers
But
or clinkers? I already
unfortunately,
forgot.
it
You
goes
told me
by
before,
another
and I
name
forgot.
as
It's
well.
clinkers, right?
The will be missed krill. Currently in existential
Clinkers.
danger due to
What the
Amsterdam's
fuck is
government
that emote?
removing it off of its streets.
Oh, I hate
The
that.
Plascurl
Oh, I
isn't
hate
perfect,
that.
you see.
See, they
De
just
vrouw
like
die
tear
2
them
jaar
up.
geleden een boete kreeg voor wildplassen, moet die toch
For well-being
betalen,
has
heeft de
to
rechtbank
still
in
pay the
Amsterdam
fine, says the
beslist.
court. What?
Ruim 2 jaar geleden plaste de vrouw na het uitgaan in Amsterdam op straat.
Well, okay.
Ze kreeg een boete van €140 die ze
that
weigerde
raises the
te
question,
betalen.
where's everybody
In
else supposed to
Amsterdam
piss if it's
zijn
just
35
urinals?
urinoirs en maar 4 openbare
4
toiletten
public
waar ook
unisex
vrouwen naar de
bathrooms.
wc kunnen. Volgens de vrouw is er daarom sprake van seksisme.
Also, did that dude have a
The
riot shield?
Plascurl with its perfect ratios
did he have a
is not
riot
perfectly
buckler?
optimized for space.
Can you tell he's taking the piss yet? the E.g. optimized Plascurl. There's a ladder to get to the urinal. I can't even tell if it's a ladder or if it's like steps or if it's like a bunch just stacked on top of each other. It's definitely just taking the piss. Like is it okay? I think that is a ladder. I think that does count as a ladder. That makes sense.
It also needs to be routinely cleaned by municipal staff due to it not being directly
urinal
connected
jungle.
to a water system. And this has caused serious issues with more selfish residents who would choose their own hygienic needs over the interests of the larger city whole.
Elke
Another
dag
piss
als het
streamer? No.
schoonspuiten komt veel viezigheid op zijn dek terecht.
Het is gewoon zo,
Yeah,
zo
so he has his canal boat parked here, and they hose out the plaskril and just spray it all over the roof of his canal boat.
Ik zag u net dat u aan het plassen was. Maar de meneer die
It
hier
does
woont,
kinda
is niet zo
suck.
blij mee
It
met
does
die
kinda suck.
plaskril hier.
Nee, nou, ik begrijp het wel hoor, want ja, er wordt natuurlijk heel veel geplast natuurlijk. En er wordt door de gemeente dan schoongemaakt.
It sounds like
Buit.
both my like bio dad and my stepdad anytime they get up in the morning, because they both wake up and they do the
Ik was nood.
every morning.
Although there have been
Every
some
morning. I remember that
shot
shit
attempts
growing
to
up like a
introduce
goddamn
handicap
heartbeat.
and female-friendly pluskrills, the strong cast iron frame is not
yes.
strong enough to keep the pluskrill alive.
No!
Instead, in its ashes emerges a new Dutch public urinal, one that puts all others to shame.
Damn right it does.
This is the Eurolift, the quintessential Dutch invention, carrying
Atlas.
the Netherlands' strongest
Atlas.
national traditions on its cold metal shoulders.
Now I
The
remember they
country is
ask you while you
known
just
for
took a
some of the
piss.
most
Listen, it's
intricate and
fine.
well-developed water management
With the
systems
arms
in the
doing,
world.
being
A network of
pretty.
intricate dike and
Being
bridge systems
pretty.
that keeps deadly
Here, we can
water
just, you know,
at
just
bay. Connected into that water system is the AI-powered self-rinsing Eurolift, paying direct homage to the country's strong grip on water.
yeah.
And the Netherlands is also known
Self-washing,
for its
baby.
serious investment into world-class public infrastructure.
Let's go! Underground bicycle parking garage. This is the. Ordain may be able to tell me. Is this is the Utrecht, or I'm probably butchering your state, Utrecht train station, isn't it? I think it is. I don't think this is actually the Amsterdam one. Maybe it is. I thought this was Utrecht though. Because this place opened, and I believe this place also has the world record for the largest underground bicycle parking garage. It's cool. If y'all wanted to, we could watch a video on this too, because I know Not Just Bikes has a video on it where he went there in person, and it's crazy cool.
Structure. Not everyone uses a public urinal, so why should all
Yeah, the-
be burdened by
the
the, urinal
fucking
use
plastic
of a few?
ones.
The
Ugh.
Dutch solution,
I remember
as
those
always,
plastic urinals at
pragmatic
like
and based on
state fairs and
consensus.
shit. AI really is taking over. AI is a place
Build a
word
urinal
when
that
it comes
during
to a
the
lot
day
of
is shy,
things.
but pops up at night when the demand is high. Although
Yeah.
some of the Eurolift urinals may still be male-centric, it matters less because they're more space efficient. The single pillar, borrowing more from the oldest French pissoir,
Oh yeah,
is
the
designed to
pissoir.
have 3 urinators
Pissoir.
simultaneously. And the design also intelligently
Okay, it's
cuts
still
out of
it's
the
still kind of
cylindrical
cool, you
frame
guys. Come
to
on.
carefully mask out self-conscious
I cannot wait for the
urinators.
AI bubble to pop. I don't.
It's exactly the type of
certain
brilliant
types are going to
engineering
pop, but I think
that you
people
would
are still going to use
expect
the
from
term
country
AI when they
home to
mean like
companies like
automated.
ASML. The brushed stainless
automated
steel frame
intelligence.
communicates seriousness and a respect for civilians who need to use the urinal. Stainless steel is
Dude's
also
got
a
a cigarette in
significant
his mouth.
upgrade to the cast iron model because stainless steel is resistant to corrosion. Steel also comes off professional and clean.
AI generated piss. Oh.
And the top of the Eurolift, once not in use, is designed
Why
to
is that one
blend
in the middle
with
of the
natural
road?
landscape like a chameleon.
Why is it
But
asphalt?
the
There's
Eurolift
not much
improves
asphalt.
upon everything. It has multiple models, so unlike the Pluskrill, some iterations
James.
of the Eurolift are unisex and also handicap accessible. Okay, so I know what some of you guys are thinking. How do you model and animate a Dutch public urinal that comes out of the ground?
Dedicated to
Well,
not
the
just
answer is
bikes.
actually really
Amazing.
simple. Blender, and a lot of online videos and courses. If you want to learn how to make a video like this one, right now on Skillshare, there's already hundreds of videos.
All right, there's our Skillshare ad. My fucking you see it marks the sponsor, but it no longer skips it. Hold on, is it maybe it's because I have it like turned off or something, or it's like different? Let me see. Options. Oh, there we go. That's why. That's why. All right. That's my weird little side tangent. What is that? That's our third side tangent of today. All right, chat, time to talk about your caffeine problem again. Are you ready to talk about your caffeine problem? Are you ready? Is it time? Are y'all going to behave? Do I need to stand here disappointed in you? You just can't help yourself, can you? Never. Not once. Not once. Give me an excuse to talk about trains or better transit. I fucking will, dude. I fucking hate cars. I drive every goddamn day. Yes, I know I'm censored. Anyway, this feels like it's going. Okay, there we go. I was about to say, this feels like it's longer than usual. Hello? Oh, we figured out we don't have one. Don't have one what? Don't have one what? First step is admitting we have a problem, but I'm not standing up for this. Morse code. Yeah, Morse code. Holy pixels, Batman. Listen, it's fine. It's fine. Oh my goodness. But yes, cars suck. Cars suck and American streets and cities suck even more. Absolute ass. Thank you for self-care. Sips on my 6th cup of Death Wish. Ajax! Ajax! You're gonna kill yourself there, champ. Do you actually drink Death Wish? Chat, does anybody in chat drink Death Wish coffee? I haven't known anybody that drinks Death Wish as their like go-to coffee. I do on occasion. I mean, somebody named Imtress, I'm not surprised may drink Death Wish on occasion. Imagine drinking coffee. Listen, I like coffee. I love the taste of coffee, especially with the stuff that you can add to it. The thing is, I don't like fighting for my life 40 minutes after. No, I actually like coffee, especially with all the different variety of like creamers and stuff you can get with it. I like iced coffee too, but my problem is tea drinker. Supreme tea is pretty good too. You are also correct. Tea ain't better. Tea's pretty decent in a lot of areas. I like the smell of coffee, but I haven't found one I would drink yet. Yeah, I've never found a coffee brand that I've been able to like, yeah, I can buy a package of 16 plus of these. Sure. No, not a chance. Not a single brand out there has ever caught my attention like that. Not even the Café du Monde brand coffee. Watery leaf juice. There's a lot of things that are that. I like tea and coffee. I drink them depending on mood and time. I only drink coffee when I'm not doing anything else for the day. If I have like at least a 3-hour window to be like, yeah, I'll go sit on the back porch and have a cup of coffee. And then 40 minutes later, fight it out for another 30 minutes. And then go lay down somewhere until my tummy stops hurting. My parents drink 4 cups of coffee per day and on the weekend 6 cups. What the fuck? How big are the cups? I've never teed before. Not a true British. Hot drinks suck. I can understand that. I usually like hot drinks in the winter when it's cold. Otherwise, like this week, today it's supposed to hit 100 by like 4. Oh, I don't have the music. That's why it's so oddly quiet. But like today, it's actually supposed to hit 100 around 4 p.m. today. I ain't touching a hot drink. Are you insane? It's time to start putting ice in drinks. It forms those pads for coffee. And normal sized cups. Okay, so probably like 8, 10 ounce coffee mugs. Not 10 ounce. No, it is ounce. I was right. Yeah, 8 to 10 ounce coffee mugs. Yes, I do. I drink Death Wish when I'm switching from day shift to night shift and vice versa. Other than that, I drink mostly water, tea, or gamer subs. Please tell me you're doing it in moderation. Hold on. How much caffeine is in Death Wish coffee nutrition facts? Okay. Do you drink the canned ones or do you drink the like packaged one? £10 coffee cup? Listen, hold on. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There it is. There it is. I found it. Oh, I opened the wrong thing. It has opened the wrong thing. There's your £10 coffee cup. There's your £10 coffee cup, kids. All right, Fairbanks, do you want your £10 coffee cup? Actually, this one's 22 pounds. This one's 10 kilograms, which is also like 22.5 pounds, isn't it? I think it is Dracolancer. Thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Snorts lines of gamer subs. Oh no, no, mad. 10 pounds? No. I'm gonna put Dr. Pepper in it. All right, that'll keep you from drinking so much Dr. Pepper. I'm just imagining, like, next time I see Fairbanks after buying this mug, Fairbanks' arm is just gonna be fucking ripped. Where's my all-metal Marin mug? Metal mugs really aren't that great. This is more of like a gimmick and a lame attempt to seem manly. I would not actually recommend buying these because the fucking cups will corrode from whatever you put in them. Who want knuckle duster grips on their mugs? Maybe. They really look more like if you look at the handle on this thing, it looks more like a barbell handle, which it's definitely like the only time I've ever seen actually people use this. It's always been on, what was it? Oh, Jesus. On like challenges, like people will buy these mugs and then go to conventions and like job fairs and shit and just set up and be like, think you can drink from this mug? Wanna bet? And they'll like make people lift it and try to drink out of it using one hand. I want to say there was an incident at one of these places where somebody like dropped the mug while their mouth was up against it and it like almost fucked up their face. Sir Cupkiss? Is that your name? Sir Cupkiss, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. I don't know why. At a first glance, I almost read that as Sir Mudkip and I was like, huh, I like Mudkip. Or is it Sir Upkiss? Sir Kirpkiss? Anyway. Put this away. Bring this back. Put the whole damn thing away. And move right on over here. Okay. I heard you like Mudkips. I love Mudkips. Anyway. God, who remembers that meme? Unironically like Mudkip, okay? Mudkip's the best starter ever made and ever will be made. You cannot change my opinion on that. Tungsten bugs, not available at carnival vendors. Not parentheses. Cursed ancient meme, G-Subs field trip. Ugh. No, mad. How's the gym grind going? Good. I went to the gym this morning. Today was core basically back day. Chest and back day is my Wednesdays. My Wednesday workout. Thing is that my diet is still fucking garbage. So I still have like frustrating belly fat. Oh God, I just pinched it. I hate it. Stop. Elon Musk screaming about something again. Us? Oh no. Anyway. Chat, do you want to hear about something funny? I think we talked about this the other day. But it's the Texas furry bill. Where is it? I think it's this one. HB 4814. Yeah, okay. This is the introduced version. Let me go back real quick. It's on WikiFur. That's amazing. No, but I want the official capital.texas.gov version. Every day is core day for me. I mean, that's because you're reading the core book. The text is what? Another display of Don Quixote? What? I'm not that chubby. Okay, maybe a little bit. Shut up. Takes forever to go away. You got this? Ugh. The what? Fairbanks, do you not know about this either? All right. If y'all didn't know, I believe it was the 29th of April. The education department had a hearing in Texas where the senator who put this up, it looks like his name is Gerdes. His last name is Gerdes. His first name is not here. Was the one who pitched this, and they absolutely roasted him, mainly because his bill is absolutely fucking stupid. It looks like, oh, there's even stuff that's, oh no, it's underlined, but for some reason on the page preview, it looks like it's redacted instead. Okay. A bill to be entitled an act relating to the display of an allowance for non-human behaviors in Texas schools be it enacted by the legislature of the state of Texas. Section 1. This bill may be referred to as forbidding F, unlawful U, representation R of roleplay, the second R, in education, there's your E, or, quote, the Furries Act. I think it's so funny that they turned it into an acronym. It specifically says that they want that acronym, but it is F for forbidding, U unlawful, representation of, ignoring of, role-playing for the second R, I, N, E, education, and there's no S. There's just no S. There's no S on here. Section 2. Section 2, Section 31.007, Education Code, is amended by amendable subsections A and B to read as following. So he wants to change the section of the Education Code. A, the Board of Trustees of an independent school district shall, with the advice of its district-level committee established under Subchapter F, Chapter 11, adopt a student code of conduct for the district. The student code of conduct must be posted and prominently displayed at each school campus or made available for review at the office of the campus principal, in addition to establishing standards for student conduct. The student code of conduct must, 1, specify the circumstances in accordance with this subchapter under which a student may be removed from a classroom, campus, disciplinary alternative, educational program, or vehicle owned or operated by the district. Meaning that if a person acts in any way, shape, or form against this bill, they can be removed essentially from any sort of activity that's involved in the school. They just listed it to guarantee it. Specify conditions that authorize or require a principal or other appropriate administrator to transfer a student to a disciplinary alternative education program. So if you act like, we haven't even gotten to the details of what this is supposed to, the conditions for this are yet. This just says, if you break the code that this will amend, you will go to a disciplinary class, meaning you'll go to like out of school suspension, in school suspension, all that jazz. Who knows what it'll be. Section 3, outline conditions under which a student may be suspended as provided by Section 37-005 or expelled as provided by Section 37-007. What about sports mascots? They can. That's exactly it. We'll get to that. That's one of the roasts that they did at the fucking showing. Okay. Specify the considerations will be given as a factor in each decision concerning suspension, removal to a disciplinary alternative education program, expulsion, or placement in a juvenile justice alternative education program, regardless of whether the decision concerns a mandatory or discriminatory action. 2. A, self-defense. B, intent or lack of intent at the same time the student engaged in the conduct. C, a student's disciplinary history. D, a disability that substantially impairs the student's capacity to appreciate the wrongfulness of the student's conduct. E, a student's status in the conservatorship of the Department of Family and Protective Services. Or F, a student's status as a student who is homeless. 5, provided guidelines for setting the length of term include A, of removal. Okay, I want to find the conditions. These are all talking the punishments and ways they can and cannot apply. But where is it? Prohibit any non-human behavior by a student, including presenting himself or herself on days other than exempt days as anything other than a human being. In this section, bullying has the meaning assigned by Section 37.0832. Harassment means threatening to cause harm or bodily injury to another student, engaging in sexually intimidating conduct, causing physical... Okay. But what are these underlying things? Okay, here it is. Exempt days. This bill has exempt days for when you can have this furry behavior. Halloween, or any singular school day within one calendar week of Halloween, as designated by the school district or school campus as a Halloween day. 2, school dress up or activity days on which students are encouraged to wear costumes and garments that are otherwise different from the district or school's normally acceptable dress code, provided that 1, they are not more than 5 such days in a school year. 2, the theme is based on an era in human history, a specific holiday, or a specific school event. And 3, the theme of the day is not solely or primarily related to the history and celebration of a biological artificial species other than Homo sapiens. Huh? So if, say, like your school has like a mascot day and you're like the Wildcats, and you happen to have a, let's say you're a furry and you have like a decent fursuit or something because your parents love you, you can't wear that on Wildcats Day. I'd be a disappointed teenager if my parents loved me and bought me a $2,000 fursuit and I finally had an excuse to wear it to school and then they said, nuh-uh. Okay. So here's C. A day that the student must rehearse, perform, or attend an event that would otherwise require the student to dress in costume if the student is a school mascot or is involved in district-funded or sponsored theater organizations. Non-human behavior means any type of behavior or accessory displayed by a student in a school district other than behaviors or accessories typically displayed by a member of the Homo sapiens species, including A, using a litter box for a passing of stool, urine, or other human byproducts. Also, is it too late to snooze? It is too late to snooze. Son of a bitch! Son of a bitch! Here, we'll finish this after the ad break. Because I know Oh, okay, it did snooze. It wouldn't let me snooze. I couldn't click the button. Can even sheep go around cosplay? Depends. If I had a suitcase fursuit, there's no way I'd wear it to school. I know how destructive kids are and they trash my outfit. Yeah, but you think teenagers kind of care? Yeah, this is technically the litter box bill. Okay, next part is a personal or outward display except during a school play or by a school mascot through surgical or superficial means of features that are non-human, such as tails, leashes, collars, other accessories designed for pets, fur other than naturally occurring human hair or a wig made to look like human hair, artificial animal-like ears or other physiological features that have not historically been assigned to the Homo sapiens species through means of natural biological development. I'm going to pause real quick. Y'all heard the word there, right? Through surgical or superficial means. Does this man think that there are surgeries for people to get tails? Did he read the first 10 pages of a cyberpunk book and we're like, nah, I don't like that? Kid in my town that asked the school to add a litter box for them? There's no fucking way. And there's no fucking way the school was going to do that anyway. It's pretty epic nowadays. It is, but I can promise you that is not possible. That is physically not possible right now with our current technology. I think Animorphs traumatized him. Maybe. Against Elon's cat girls. We'll do a Cindy reads. I have no tail and I'm... No. Okay, where were we? Okay, the list of things that can't be done either. Barking, meowing, hissing, or other animal noises that are not human speech, and licking oneself or others for the purpose of grooming or maintenance. Human being means a biological entity that belongs to the species Homo sapiens. Section 3. Section 37-002, Education Code, is amended by adding subsection F to read as follows. Limiting a student to engaging only in human behaviors is not a violation of this section. What? Okay, adding this. Prohibition on certain non-human activities and behaviors. Exempt A's and human being have the definitions provided in section 37-001. Okay. A student has an obligation to learn, grow, and advance as a human child. This makes sense, kind of, but... Okay, the rest of this is just on, what quantitates, abuse. One of these sections says that if a family allows their child to act like this, it should count as abuse. Homosexuals, suspected homosexuals, superficial modifications that aren't biological, so tattoos and piercings? Sure. He's defined humanity. This is the one time you'll hear Texas legislation use the word Homo sapiens. I guarantee it. Otherwise, they'd be like, education isn't science. Wait, no. Evolution isn't science. I guarantee you that's the Texas legislation. I saw something on YouTube the other day where Congress was debating the fact that kids were using litter boxes in school. The thing is, it's not even a debate because every situation that they've come up with is made up. It's not real. If y'all don't know this bill, the only example that the Gerdes, the senator here, let me actually look up Texas Senator Gerdes. What is his name? Stan Gerdes. Whenever he was called to the stand, because he's the one who has to present this to the education committee, when he did it, he only had one example. That was Smithville ISD. He did not go in person to ask them. And whenever they were asked if this particular scenario of providing a litter box for a student, they told him flat out, no, it's made up. He had no examples. It was made up, and they still refuse to admit that it doesn't exist. They wholeheartedly just are looking to dismantle the education department. That is the point of this. This is to essentially codify the entirety of the education department away from being an active department into just being words on paper. Also, in case you don't know where his office is, it's in Bastrop, Texas, which is also a Tesla town, not Tesla, SpaceX town. SpaceX has a large section in Bastrop, Texas. Bastrop. Holds up a plucked chicken. Behold, state senators. Teenage girl. Don't have something to start a moral panic. Just make something up. Correct. Yeah. Somebody told me this thing happened. So, like, you know. Hold on. Let's see. There's actually a section on his Texas House of Representatives page. We can check all the bills that he's, let me see. HB 29, related to water losses reported by municipal-owned utilities. Display your allowance for non-human behaviors was HB 54. HB 119, related to the registration as a lobbyist of persons who engage in certain lobbying activities on behalf of a foreign adversary, and to prohibitions on the receipt of compensations related to these lobbying activities, providing a civil penalty. You know, okay. I can see that. All right, let me slide on over really quick, you guys. We will... Where is it? I clicked the wrong button. That's what I did. We need the screen. I need to move over. And we can give you the words on stream. Okay. I'm not going to go anywhere, even though my water's getting low, but that's fine. Protesting illegal? No. He's not making protesting illegal. This is lobbyist. This is lobbyist. Registration as a lobbyist of persons who engage in certain lobbying activities on behalf of a foreign adversary. Although, if they do claim, this could be, it depends on their definition in this bill. I could go check it. We can go look. Let me see. The thing is, apparently it's been left pending as of today. Oh no, it was left pending. It was never heard on the 5th of this month. But where can I read it? Senator Committee to State Affairs, Homeland Security, Public Safety, Veterans Affairs. Ayes voted unanimously aye through the House Committee. Okay. Looks like there's 5 representatives that signed this, as well as co-authored by a whole bunch of other people. Where can I read this through this page? I want to read it. Read text. There it is. Introduced, engrossed. House Committee report. Analysis. Can I open it over here? There we go. Okay. Let's see the bread and butter here really quick. Feels standard nowadays, not gonna lie. Communication directly with one or more members of the legislation or executive branch to influence legislation of administrative actions on behalf of a foreign adversary, a foreign adversary's client, or foreign adversary's political party, as those terms are defined by 305-030. Okay. Anybody affiliated with a foreign entity, whether company, proxy, or government entity, can count as it. Okay. We're going to bring the desk back because we're going to go ahead and take your words away. And give me back my chair. Feels standard nowadays, not going to lie. It happens. This is probably, honestly, like probably the least worst bill that he's gonna pass. But let's see some of these other ones. He seems like he's pretty level-headed. It's just that this furry one is so weird. Like the next one, relating to underground facility safety, prohibited acts with respect to cell-cultured proteins for human consumption. What? Relating to certain prohibited acts with respect to cell-cultured protein for human consumption. Does he not like lab-grown meats? Is that what this is? Okay. Uh-oh, here we go. He's got a DEI bill related to the implementation of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives by certain government entities. Okay. Restrictions on the authorization by the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality of the use of Class 5 injection well for certain aquifer storage and recovery projects. Hold on. Class 5 injection? Basic information about Class 5 injections. Wells. Inject non-hazardous fluids underground. Fluids are injected either into or above an underground source of drinking water. Wells include any wells that are not already classified as classes 1 through 4 or class 6 wells. This diverse group ranges from simple shallow wells to complex experimental injection technologies. Injection wells typically rely on gravity drainage, including apartment buildings that use septic systems for sanitary waste disposal, municipalities where stormwater flows into dry wells, strip malls where businesses such as photo processors and dry cleaners discharge sanitary waste and process chemicals into septic systems, office buildings that inject water past through heat exchangers to cool the building, car washes where wastewater enters the floor drain that leads to a dry well or septic system. Related to a restriction on the authorization. Wait, does he want... I think he wants less restrictions on what's a class 5 well. No, it's not fracking. This is water. This is not like you basically using high pressure water to crack rocks to get to like minute pockets of oil or natural gas or anything. No. This is specifically for like water storage methods. Oh, is that the 3D printed stakes? God, I hope not. Regular stakes are already bad enough. Relating to requiring voter approval for the construction of a new toll project by a toll project entity. Okay. I guess that makes sense. Although it really looks like most of his bills don't really go anywhere. Related to increasing the criminal penalty for the offenses of enticing a child into the applicability, that is a hell of a word, of sex offender registration requirements to that offense. Okay. Is it increasing the criminal penalty? Okay, that works for me. I'm fine with that. This guy has a lot of bills on groundwater, relating to the use of certain groundwater export fees collected by Groundwater Conservation District. Relating to an application for a permit for the transfer of groundwater out of Groundwater Conservation District. Huh? This man is being lobbied by some water company. He is being lobbied by some water company. That is guaranteed. He tried relating to an application. So there is a specific application for a permit to transfer groundwater, okay, out of the Groundwater Conservation District. Who's the company? Who's the company? Do we need to go see? 1690? HB 1690? Text. Introduced, engrossed. Let's go see. Oh. Wait, is this it? Maybe did I just hit the fiscal note? Engrossed? Okay, what if I hit the introduced one? These are effectively exactly the same. Nothing was changed. Holy shit, hold on, chat. Look at this. I need y'all to look at this, because this is stupid. Hi, words on stream. That's it. That's the text. This is how it shows up. Okay, relate to the application for a permit of transfer to groundwater to be enacted by legislation. District shall adopt rules requiring the notice be given for an application filed to comply with the subsection, paid for by the applicant, sent by certified mail. Each district that is adjacent to the district considering the application, Commissioner's Court of each county in which the district considers the application is located, the Commissioner's Court of each county. Published in a newspaper of general circulation in the county in which the district considered the application is located, and a newspaper of general circulation in each county in which the district that receives notice under subdivision 2A is located. Takes effect September 1st. Huh? Okay. Impenetrable bureaucracy? I guess. But I don't see the reason. It just hi Ghost. It just seems. You've heard this song before? This one or the one before? Wasn't that Pretty Fly for a White Guy? Until I'm unleashed into doom. Oh no. Oh no. But yeah, huh. Very odd. I clicked the wrong one. Oh. My desk! My desk! Give me my desk back. Thank you. I think it was something but tulip, but it was hard to tell. Maybe I could go back to it. No, it's Pretty Fly for a White Guy by Offspring. Drop Dead. And then the one before that is Drop Dead Cynical by Amaranth. Okay. Practice last night in Doom Eternal and played the Horde mode. I don't have any money for any of the Doom games right now. So my current thing is I downloaded Metal Hellsinger, but I ended up not playing it last night. So, you know, as you do. As you do. All right, hold on. I want to see if there's any other weird stuff that this guy's tried to pass. Probate office, criminal penalty eligible for community supervision, mandatory supervision, parole for certain people convicted of intoxicated manslaughter. Okay. Relating to the issuance of groundwater permits to certain aliens or foreign entities. Do you think he thinks that he's like, this is him finding out that like a lot of farmland in the US is owned by China? Anyone, do you think that's what this is about? You think he's trying to like ban like farms or properties that are like run in order to ship food to other countries? Because that's the thing, in case y'all didn't know it, chat. A lot of the US farmland, not like a majority or anything, but a chunk of US farmland are owned by foreign companies or foreign companies from other countries that sole purpose is to grow food and then ship it to those countries. Yeah, I get wild when I'm drunk. Groundwater management, duty of groundwater conservation district, Texas Water Assistance Program, relating to the manner of reporting results and the conduct of elections. Oh. Relating to placement on the minimum salary schedule for certain public school employees. Water losses reported by certain municipally owned utilities, the Texas Water Development Board. Related to financing of water supply projects, including state water plan authorizing the issuance of obligations. Development agreement for a portion of State Highway 130 to facilitate non-tolled transportation products. Wait, what is... Relating to allow the governing bodies of certain political subdivisions to call for a local option election relating to the sale of alcoholic beverages. Relating to prohibiting the purchase of candy and soft drinks under the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program. Sushi! Thank you for the lurk. Yeah, that's where a lot of exports come from. I hear we have a deficit about that. Who cares? For big water corporations is like, I wonder too. I wonder too. Relating to adult high school charter program funding. relating to vacancies on the board of directors of the Lost Pines Groundwater Conservation District. Huh? Relating to the repeal of wheelbase and horsepower restrictions for the state's passenger vehicle fleet. Guys, our government vans aren't nearly fast enough or strong enough. I don't think we should be restricting the size of these vehicles. I think it's really bad. You know what? I think our government transportation vehicles need to be bigger and have more horsepower. In fact, I even brought an example. This is the Ford 550. Hold on. No, let me see. Is the 7? I forget. Does the 750 still exist? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I keep having to bring the screen back. I should almost just basically leave it. Okay, hold on. Hold your horses. Say hi to the 750 kids. The king grants for his government vehicles. Oh God. Nah, this is what they want. Here's the fleet version. Listen, we could always break out like the 450. You know, yeah, the doobly baby. What about the 1080? Shut up. Oh, Jesus Christ. There you go. There's the passenger vehicle. Ford 5090 Ti. Hold on, is there a 950? I don't think there's a 950. Oh, Christ. Oh, Christ. Nah, this is kind of up in the air. Like, I don't know about this. These all look like they're modified. Jesus. I didn't want to look at that. I don't think it goes above a 750. Cause these are basically like fucking tractors at this point. Driving Optimus Prime, maybe. Yeah, maybe, but those are 18-wheeler level shit. All right. Hold on. Actually, you know what? Let's leave this up. And y'all can look at this list with me. Let me see. Where were we? Zoom in a little bit. That's okay. So this is the one that I just read. Removal of battery energy storage facilities. Huh? You want to get rid of battery energy storage facilities? You know, the places that would hold the excess power the Texas grid generates in case of emergencies? Okay, hold on. I have to know. Load, damn you. Okay, it never made it past anything either, so hold on. The battery energy facility includes facilities or equipment used to support the operation battery energy storage, including underground or above ground electrical transmissions or communication lines, electrical transformer, telecommunication equipment, a road, meteorological tower, or any maintenance yard. Battery energy storage agreement means the lease agreement between a grantee landowner and authorized grantee to operate a battery energy storage in the leased property. Oh, y'all can't see it. Since when does the Texas grid generate excess power? That's a good point, but like, you know. Person who... Okay, no, I want... Waiver void? Clean removal of property, each piece of... Wait. Battery energy storage is the agreement that purposes to waive right or exempt a grantee from liability or duty established by this chapter is void. Person who was harmed by a violation of this chapter is entitled to appropriate injunctive relief to prevent further violation of this chapter? I just want to know what... Okay, maybe this is just setting the conditions. I think this is just setting the necessary conditions for if like a battery storage location is shut down, then this is like what they have to do. It looks like they basically just have to they have to pay for the property. They have to return the property to the leased owner, depending on who it is. Yeah, I think this is fine. Grantee delivered to the landowner an updated estimate prepared by the independent third-party professional engineer licensed in the state for the cost of removal and salvage value of at least once every 5 years for the remainder of the term and agreement. Okay. Okay. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. It's the... Oh. Went back to the top. Uh-oh. Well, also, if you want to see what this man looks like, look at this fucking dude. This is the dude that thinks kids are shitting in litter boxes at school. Anyway. I guess Fireball Storm. Fireball Storm. All right, hold on. Okay, oh, here's one. Relating to prohibiting the purchase of candy and soft drinks under the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Huh? Fuck all spelling. God damn it, Ordain. I guess minor spelling error. Minor spelling error. Therefore, your spell didn't work. You have to spell right for spells to work. You should know that, Ordain. All right, let's see. Where is collision with motorist? Sale of fireworks on or before Lunar New Year holiday? Hold on. I gotta know. Okay. Excerpt on providing subsection beginning June 24th and ending at midnight on July 4th, beginning December 20th and ending on midnight of January 1st the following days, as well as beginning May 1st, ending at midnight on May 5th if the fireworks are sold at a location that is not more than 100 miles from the Texas-Mexico border and that it is a county in which the Commissioner's Court of the country has approved the sale of fireworks during the period, beginning 5 days before Lunar New Year and ending midnight. This isn't bad. This is pretty nice. This guy actually caring that like people may want to celebrate Lunar New Year in the state of Texas. That's pretty great. Okay, if y'all didn't know, these are basically like already the laws. You can only sell fireworks within a certain period. Hi, Night Prowler. In Texas, and that's around the 4th of July and around New Year's, and that is it. That is the only time you can sell, purchase, and use fireworks. But for him to actually want to add this to allow Ordain's out of spell slots that have chaos magic, it has almost no rules. You just buy a lot of store them. You could, but if you launch them outside of like those expected windows, you're going to get a visit from the like sheriff's department, maybe even the fire chief. Remember, kids, also make sure if your town has any sort of like dry warning or anything, you shouldn't shoot off fireworks willy-nilly, no matter what Ordain says. Yeah, he does these things that are like, yeah, that's pretty cool, dude. That's pretty neat. And then the furry thing. Okay, here's another one for the prohibiting purchase of certain food and drink items under the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Act. Which, if I remember correctly, the Texas Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, that's basically, think of that food stamps. That is food stamps. So this was a man that wanted to ban candy and soda from being purchased with food stamps. Here's another groundwater conservation district one. Related to the creation of Sayers Ranch Municipal Utility District, granting a limited power of eminent domain, providing authority to issue bonds, providing authority to impose assessment fees and taxes. Sayers Ranch. There's the bill. Is it a bison ranch? Is it just a large bison ranch? Apps? No, that's not it. That's not it. Public service bills in the lobbies are funding my re-election. Urging Congress to reimburse the state of Texas for border security costs incurred under Operation Lone Star. You might just know that's the name for the current border shit that's going on. It's the forms in which your magic can go wrong, categorized in the list. Oh, Jesus. Legal Eagle already makes me depressed enough, so I'm going to lurk through this. No, I think we're done. Because this is enough. I promised to play a game today, even though we didn't get like a chatting day yesterday. Unless... Do we want to talk about more news? I could always talk about more news, like this. 160 Boeing planes, the largest order in its history. through the president? Okay. News channel? God forbid. God forbid. Let's put this away. Let's put this away. Listen, I may have a problem, and it's I can't keep my nose out of things. So, you know, I'm American, and I currently have a stake in that. For now. For now. If you use behave magic, can't use wild magic. Mood. Listen, I would absolutely love. Ooh, snazzy. I could talk about shit like this all the time. We can go with the merits. The circus doesn't even compare to the circus of current government. Exactly. I like to be more of a distraction, but it's also like at the same time, I want y'all to like learn and like be active, because I feel like there's not enough people out there that like understand the things that a government can or will do to you. Have many problems. The carnival doesn't know them because when we walk out, we forget everything that happens inside the carnival. No! To Norway means less Americano depresso. Yeah. Yeah. And I totally won't go harder on American politics once I'm out of the country. Totally. You know. That's why we get back. Are you sure? I thought you came back because you liked it. The false Hydra was the barons we met along the way. Oh, good lord. It's the wolves. Oh my goodness. All right. Yeah, there's nothing of substance here. I want to see. Hey, yo, corruption is trending. Let's go. The corruption of U.S. foreign policy. Oh boy. Thanks, Senator Chris Murphy. I know Trump's crypto scams can seem hard to understand, so I went to the Senate floor to break down the most outrageous ones. A foreign government is investing $2 billion in Trump coin to get favorable treatment from the administration. A wild, indirect corruption. Also, not to mention, replacing the original Air Force One with a Qatari-given Boeing plane known as the Palace of the Skies does not look good. What up, gamers? Hi, Pepperjack. What else do we got here? Pete. Thanks, Pete. Trump accepting Qatar plane raises ethical security concerns. In quotes, it's humiliating. I agree. Syrian leader offers to build Trump Tower in Damascus. Ooh. Tiny company with China ties announces big purchase of Trump cryptocurrency. And crypto is terrible for embezzlement. It's all like incriminating once you solve the logic puzzle wallets present. Correct. It's literally just a puzzle wall, and once you know how like crypto wallets work, that shit is public, baby. If you didn't know that, crypto wallet exchanges are public. You may not know the name of who's attached to a wallet directly under certain means, but you can track transactions. All of that is recorded and capable of looking up as long as you have the wallet ID. If y'all never seen that, I recommend watching really any of like CoffeeZilla's channel or his side channel, Voidzilla. He shows some of those methods and they're pretty interesting. They're very cool. Yvette or Carrie didn't take a bath for too long. Carrie, did you bathe today? Carrie? Also, hi, Simon. All right. Okay, yeah, it looks like a lot of people right now were just talking about the jet stuff. I think people are only really understanding it as direct corruption because it's a massive what's the word? CoffeeZilla's going through it right now. Oh, he's fucking that poor man. That poor man is being run over indirectly. And it's only because it's holy shit, Rav, welcome in, new model Yiffy. Hi, Rav, how was your stream? Labyrinth of the Demon King. Ooh. Welcome in, Raiders. How was your stream? Did you have a good time, Rav? Kaigoju, thank you for the follow. Well, Kaigoji, sorry, Goji, a bubble butt lover. Do I need to, we'll just, hold on, hold your horses. Hold your horses. Here, let's just pull it back here a second. Welcome in the Raiders. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Mara. I'm the ringleader of the Dark Carnival. I usually play games that are dark, spooky, terrifying, or just yap my fucking mouth off for way too long. Because we're already an hour and 35 in, and I usually start the game after an hour. Recently, though, an hour really hasn't been feeling like enough time to yap about the shit I want to talk about. Labyrinth of the Ringleader. You missed. But thank you so much for the raid, Rav. I totally understand because you usually stream like a long time. So if you need to like go lay down, get some food, do all that jazz, I totally understand. Thank you so much for the raid. We are also making this slow crawl towards partner, guys. It really does mean a lot, and any help is always appreciated. So if you can't hang out, listen, yap, or do all of that respectfully, hello, hi. Hi, here, let me get my jacket on. There we go. There we go. But if you like what you see, do feel free to drop a follow and hang out, you guys. Turning into just yapping streamer? Yeah, probably. Listen, if we get partner on this channel, I will specifically use this channel for for like horror gaming only, and I may make a separate channel for just straight yapping, just straight, absolutely just taking the piss. Yap more, stream more. Yap more, stream more. She wasn't already not even making YouTube content with all the yapping. I want to make YouTube content. My hardest part though is like I tried recording when was it? Friday, I think it was. Nobody was here. And I tried recording and I just didn't like it. Like it felt ingenuine. I'm sure it's been a long time coming. This has been in the works for about a year. It was mostly because money. I could only do things so fast because money. Chicken fries. Ooh. What kind of chicken fries? Disingenuous? Yes, disingenuous. Yappy goes sheep? God damn it. God damn it. No, I'd probably, if I made a side channel for that, it'd probably be something like something about a clown, I think. Maybe something like from one clown to another or something like that. I feel like I read Mawiwi, and at the same time I was saying clown, and I went clown-y-wee. Clown-y-wee. Mawiwi news was the chaos of yesterday is the content of... That's an amazing tagline. Hold on, stealing that. Stealing that. Okay. Okay. Feel free to. I just posted it in the group chat too. I did change it to Marin Go News though. That's not what it's going to be called. That was just. You did not promote violence, but the U.S. government is actively approving my Second Amendment. Why the Second Amendment exists, and people they were completely forgotten about it. Correct. Not to mention, ICE. How's it feeling that ICE can kind of just come into your house, guys? If they don't even have to have a warrant anymore. Isn't that great? If they could just, come into your house and like check it out just in case you have, like immigrants in it or anything. Hi, Kira. This is not great. This is sarcasm chat. Just in case there's new people here. I don't fucking agree with this shit. They're making lists of people. Oh yeah. I mean, they have in fact deported people that were American citizens, as well as here legally, and fucking deported them so fast to places like El Salvador, and I think was Honduras one of them? No, Ecuador. Ecuador was another one of them. Strong man bringing strong news. Oh my god, that's good. That's good. List of very normal people, extremely normal people. Why am I happy being in the Netherlands? Yeah. Yeah. Chronically ill too? Yeah, that's not to talk about fucking RFK looking to start a registry of people with autism. That would essentially require all doctors and or if you have like a diagnosis to essentially be put on the registry. Can you fucking imagine? That's the level of shit. This is gonna sound bad. I don't mean literally do this, but that's the level of shit where you start throwing Molotovs through windows. Where you start kind of considering the crime brulee. Oh, Mecca the Goat. Thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Fuck eyes. Hell yeah. Yeah, go crime. Go crime, baby. Doctors fear HIPAA. The thing too is I've actually heard from some friends that recently when they go to their doctor's appointments, some American doctors have been like, so if there's any diagnosis you want me to like take off your medical record, just kind of let me know. I can get that done for you. All Carnival watching from my little farmhouse-y. Aw. Thank you, Mecca, for doing your season pass, though. Holy shit. Enjoy the cutest and scariest emotes on Twitch. Doctors I know are telling girls to delete their period trackers. Correct. You should also do that. You should absolutely do that. Just go back to doing it manually. To violate HIPAA, 90% of records have been leaked in at least one cyber attack. Correct. I got called a slur for the first time a week or two ago. Huh. I don't remember if I've ever been called a slur. Well, besides like primary school bullying, I got called the F-bomb a lot in primary school. It doesn't really affect me. Didn't really care. Weird how a ton of corrections just got made to all these records. Weird. Nah, they usually, if they removed like the diagnosis or anything, more than likely, I'd hope doctors were thorough enough for this that it would basically just be like, oh yeah, it was nothing. It's fine. Many a slur has been sent towards me. Mostly by my mother. Is it like playful parent shenanigans, or is it like hateful parent shenanigans? Is it like actual hateful? Cis white guy, which is the wild part. It is pretty wild, but I can also, in certain ways, certain types of people hate certain types of other people for no reasons with like a lot of passionate hates. So I could even understand if like a straight white man has been called a slur of some kind. With people never rude encounters. Yeah. I'm also very like, what's the word? I'm very agreeable, if that makes sense, in person. Where's Fairbanks? Fairbanks, are you still here? I'm like very agreeable, basically. Like, I'm not super intimidating, and I guess I talk with like an air that I don't really end up with any issues. I can't stay mad at people, and maybe other people can't really stay that mad at me. I don't know. There's probably some people out there that hate me still. I can think of at least one person. Get in the lion cage. Are we putting Ordained in the lion cage? I don't need Ordained tearing apart my lions again. I'm Dutch, remember? I'm nowhere near the USA. True. Is going to deport Carnival, then I will refuse refugee all little clowns and maybe put Ordained in the lion's cage so we can move without burning the farm. You get to the cage right now. Oh, Jesus. Put Ordained in the breadbasket. Breadbasket Ordained. There is no more lions. My lions! My lions! I stitched those babies together myself. What the fuck? People want to do after interacting with me? The fucking missile. There is not a scary bone in my body. Everywhere with oil is near the US. Congratulations, you are being liberated. I am hungry. Why are you hungry? What have you had to eat today? Did you eat today? Okay. You motherfucker. You did what? Ordain? What did you do with my lions? Hmm? Hmm? Where are you running, Ordain? We're not done here, Ordain. Okay. Okay. I have a Five Guys triple bacon cheeseburger with sauteed onions and mushrooms. How's your $25 burger? Salvador, how's your $25 burger? Arceus would be like, oh Jesus. Are her lions but still hungry? Why are you underfeeding these kittens? I'm not underfeeding them. I feed them quite well, especially during shows. $14? That's still pretty expensive. And that was just for the burger, wasn't it? I haven't been to Five Guys in 4+ years. 4+ years. The old gym I used to go to when I lived in New England actually had a Five Guys literally in its parking lot. And I never went there. Not once. Lived there 2 years and never once went to that. Five Guys that was in the parking lot of my gym. Because I'd walk out the gym and I'd be like, man, I'm hungry. And I'd see the Five Guys and be like, nah, that's probably really bad for me. I'm gonna go somewhere else. I'll hit the grocery store on the way home. I guess Pulls are dating from the next comic panel. Ate 1/2 an 8-inch Jimmy John's sub and potato salad. Okay, Jimmy John's. Jimmy John's. Jimmy John's isn't food. Jimmy John's is plastic disguised as food. Sorry, I was scratching my nose and covering my mouth. Quite expensive, unfortunately. Thankfully, living in the Midwest means beef isn't exactly hard to come by. True. They are pretty decent burgers. I won't lie. Do y'all know the trend of some people do where they like replace the buns with onions, like grilled onions? Have y'all seen that? People will get like a double cheeseburger or something and then ask them to replace the buns with grilled onions. It looks so fucking greasy, dude. It makes my heart hurt. Oh, you haven't seen this, Ordain? Okay, hold on. Hold on. I got you. Let me see. Five Guys onion burger. I'm sure I'll be able to find plenty of pictures of this. That's not it. I know I've seen at least one picture of a woman eating this in her car and it just looks like slop. But I can't find any here. Except for this, what looks like Five Guys and In-N-Out. Okay, hold on. Do this, Oh, that's actually not what I wanted to do. Oakley dokley. I wanted screen. And let me over here. I realized I turned off the wrong thing earlier. Okay. Yeah, this is kind of what it looks like. I'm kind of annoyed that I can't, like, find the original. Oh, I think that's what they've been calling it. The Flying Dutchman. Flying Dutchman. Yeah. It's basically this. Like, onions instead of buns. That's not the lady. That's not her either. Yeah, but basically this. It's basically just this. Jail, you're under coronary arrest. We're removing your heart and putting it in a box for its own safety. I despise that. I don't know why it's called the Flying Dutchman. Hold on. Curse sail the seas forever. This iconic ghost ship. Okay. Secret mini room consists 2 patties. No buns. Ah. References the ship's inability to dock. Founder's love for cheese-filled burgers, possibly relating to her Dutch heritage. His Dutch heritage. Interesting. Very funny play on words. I can respect it. I can respect it. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. From Big Boys Drive-In? I don't... They're huge and really good. It's a Shrek crossover, clearly, because it has more layers. Boo! Boo! Let the demon ship be. Don't disrespect it. I don't think they're disrespecting it. It is kind of interesting. All right, hold on. Elon Musk's regulatory troubles have begun to melt away in Trump's second term. Has dropped a case against Musk's rocket company SpaceX, and his Labor Department has canceled a planned civil rights review of the automaker Tesla. Another regulatory matter against SpaceX has entered settlement talks. Oh, damn it. Come back here.
Has canceled.
Shut up. Settlement talks with the National Labor Relations Board. And in more than 40 other federal agency matters, regulators have taken no public action in their investigations for several months or more, raising questions about whether these cases may have become dormant, according to NBC News review of regulatory matters involving Musk Company. Insanity. Insanity. Christ. Huh? RFK Jr. says corruption at the National Institute for Health is the sole reason there isn't a cure for Alzheimer's. Quote, for 20 years, because of utter corruption and fraud, we were directing Alzheimer's research to one hypothesis and any other hypothesis was shut down. We should have the cure for Alzheimer's today. We don't have it purely because of corruption at NIH. And we're going to have it quickly. I lost my grandmother to Alzheimer's. Nana go round. I got to watch my Nana wither and fall apart over years of suffering from Alzheimer's. I'm going to strangle this man. Everything about this advent, I always thought it was because of Planet of the Apes reboot films. No, that sounds right. Hi, wait, listen, the reboot films, wait, do you mean the CGI reboot films or the reboot of like the early 2000s? Also, hi, Phil. I feel like letting actual anarchists run the government would have been better. Yes. Not now. Oh my goodness. Rise of the Planet of the Apes from 2011. I don't know. I think they're pretty good in their own way. If you kind of like detach them from the other like kind of Planet of the Apes. Okay. Hi, Amber. Hello. Says the corrupt politician with the brainworm. Hold on. What the fuck is this? Wait. Why are all of these... Oh, all of these comments are people agreeing with him. They call Alzheimer's diabetes 3 in other countries. Who the fuck calls it that? You're making shit up. Surprising no one corruption just discovered in giant organization. The thing is, he has no, what's the word? Background evidence. He just says things. And that's just who RFK Jr. is. He just says things with no evidence. And then when he's confronted with it, he's like, well, I heard otherwise. Don't take medical advice from me, says the clown running the health department. Donald Trump is ordering cessation and lifting sanctions on Syria after Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara pitched his Trump Tower Damascus and offered a minerals deal like Ukraine. Does he still own the Trump companies? I thought he was required as president to completely divest from those. Balloon returns to 1500, make the Europeans Miss America, let's get colonized by Asians? I mean, yeah, probably. Actually, that may not be the worst idea. Required as if they stopped anything. I mean, most other presidents have actively divested, including, who was it? Was it Jimmy Carter that had the peanut farm? I think it was Jimmy Carter that had like his own peanut farm and he had to sell it when he became president. Hold on. I know what song we need right now. Here we go. All right, let's see how long it takes for somebody to recognize this song. It says no office of public trust can accept gifts for favors. Correct. Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi, who is approving Trump's luxury jet gift from Qatar, previously worked as a foreign lobbyist for Qatar. She was paid $115,000 per month. Soon you'll see, you'll remember you belong to me. You'll be back, time will tell. For that I served you well. Empires fall. Hi, Brian. Oh my goodness. Took my time to remember. You did fantastic. You're the only one who said Hamilton, so. Yeah, pretty much. We were borderline right on the money. Sorry, I had to. Okay, hold on. Let me click through a whole bunch of songs real quick. Just so that we don't have to put up with a shuffle going through the exact same songs as earlier. Lin-Manuel Miranda. All right, so he's got a very noticeable compositional style. It's the thing with Broadway songs. Broadway songs have like a feeling to them. It's kind of always been like that. Wait, what is this? Economic freedom fighters. Okay, I think this is a South. Also, random thing. Chat, not random at all, actually. Chat, did you know about the South Africa refugees? Anybody else hear about that? Did you know they're already in the US? No. According to the U.S. government, white Afrikaners are in fact refugees and should be protected at all costs, and therefore were brought over here in less than a few days of being issued refugee status. Yeah, only the white ones though. Only the white ones. Y'all know what they're doing, right? Anything the U.S. government says means nothing to me anymore, it feels like, aka people butthurt over losing their stuff because of apartheid, and correct. And upset that people that have been constantly trying to fight to pull back all the apartheid period legislation and stuff that essentially screwed over the entire country, all basically on purpose, are still pissed at them. So, you know, just find another racist that's like in power that'll fucking coddle you, and sure. Oh, exactly. I mean, fucking Elon Musk was raised during apartheid. He grew up in apartheid South Africa. His dad, I wish I was joking, not his dad. I believe it was his dad's grandpa. Literally said that Hitler was, quote, too Jewish for him. If you want to get an idea of what Elon Musk's family is like. What's wrong, Grins? Is everything all right? Can you imagine? Can you imagine living in that family? Plankton Payne. Yeah, his I believe his grandpa was Canadian technically, but he was part of. Let me actually find it. There's a name for Elon Musk's grandpa, Joshua N. Haldeman. Leader of the Social Credit Party of Saskatchewan. Early career, Great Depression, political activity in Canada. Hello. Haldeman formally made statements encouraging the publication of prevalent anti-Semitism in the party. However, he also gave a speech defending a decision by a party newspaper to publish the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, an anti-Semitic fabrication claiming an international Jewish conspiracy to rule the world. In her speech, Haldeman said, quote, that the plan was outlined in these protocols has been rapidly unfolding in the period of observation of this generation, end quote. He would later claim that apartheid South Africa was leading, quote, white Christian civilization, end quote, against the international conspiracy of Jewish bankers and the hordes of colored people he claimed they controlled. Okay. In 1945, Canadian federal election, he made a bid for a seat on the federal parliament, placed fourth in Prince Albert with 4.3% of the votes, losing to Prime Minister William Leon Mackenzie King. In 1946, he cited the party's opposition to communism in the press. In the 1949 Canadian federal election, he ran in Lake Center, losing to future Prime Minister John Diefenbacher. And then he resigned in 1949 and moved to South Africa in 1950. Settled in the capital of Pretoria, where he opened a chiropractic clinic. Of course, this fucking schmuck was a chiropractor. Couldn't be a real doctor, had to be a fake one. He served as secretary of the South African Chiropractors Association from 52 to 59, after which he was its president until 69. Was motivated by support for apartheid, and he was supporter of the ruling National Party of South Africa. He told Afrikaner nationalist Die Transvaler, an extremist newspaper that was described as, quote, a tool of the Nazis in South Africa by a South African judge. Also, instead of the government's attitude keeping me out of South Africa, it was precisely the opposite effect. It encouraged me to come and settle here. In 1951, he wrote an article about South Africa to the Saskatchewan newspaper, the Regina Leader Post, defending apartheid and writing of, quote, of black South Africans. I almost said black South Americans. Black South Africans, quote, the natives are very primitive and must not be taken seriously. Some are quite clever in a routine job, but the best of them cannot assume responsibility and will abuse authority. The present government of South Africa knows how to handle the native question. Slandered Nikola Tesla's name than Thomas Edison? True. Funny part is nowadays there's two cames of churros, the crazy ones and ones that just see it as something equal to massage or similar. Yeah, the kind of people that think like chiropractic is like chiropractic is like a means to like solve so much of their like bodily problems are insane. Not to mention chiropractic practice can also lead to potential things as awful as death and complete paralysis. Will abuse authority equals threaten my job abusing authority. Ugh. Hold on. I think it goes on. Let me see here. Weeks after the Sharpeville Massacre on the 21st of March, 1960, Haldeman self-published The International Conspiracy to Establish a World Dictatorship and the Menace to South Africa, a 42-page response to the massacre. The United Nations passed Resolution 134, the body's first official condemnation of apartheid and the beginning of decades of diplomatic isolation. Later, Haldeman self-published a second book alleging international conspiracies titled The International Conspiracy in Health, targeted fluoridation, vaccinations, and health insurance. Man, this guy really is a piece of shit all the way through. Errol Musk said of his wife's family, they were very fanatical in favor of apartheid. May's parents came to South Africa from Canada because so it was his mom's parents, not his dad's parents, from Canada because they sympathize with the Afrikaner government. They used to support Hitler and all that sort of stuff. I guess that explains why his Elon Musk's mom in like all of her interviews is also a piece of shit. Is an extreme piece of shit. All right, though, guys, we're about to have our second ad break. So let me do a little bit of sliding here. We'll swing over here. We will do a words on stream, and I need to refill my water. We have about 30 seconds until the ad break. What's said? Yikers. Can we just have an oopsie with the spontaneous forming gallows? Mr. Sadism, welcome in. How are you doing? Was known as Universal Bad Guy? Yeah. Hold on. I want to make sure I remember this guy's name. Hold on. Reopen that page. What was this man's name? Joshua Haldeman, a.k.a. Grandpa Musk. And his kids were May Musk. Huh? Wait. Is this the right person? This can't be the right person. What the fuck is this? Hold on. What did I just find? Chat. What is this? Huh? Was there... Huh? No, Errol's dad. Errol Musk is his dad. Is Elon Musk's dad. Errol is his dad. May Musk is his mom. Yeah, like, hold on. Finalist Miss South Africa Beauty Competition. Married Errol Musk. Engineer she met in high school. Elon, Kimball, and Tosca. After her American grandfather, John Elon Haldeman. Okay. Could not afford to give the children as a single parent. Oh. Okay. I don't understand this. I don't understand this. Hold on. I was gonna go refill my water, but I'm gonna give y'all words on stream. And then I'm gonna go refill, and then I'll read that afterward. Also, Morningstar VT, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Old evil white lady phrenology on her. Oh yeah. Do we want to break out phrenology again? Yeah, I can see it. I can see it. I don't understand these things on the side though. It feels like somebody's like slipped in. Was it this? Was it Technocracy Incorporated? I think that was the like eugenics organization that her dad was in. Yeah, Joshua Haldeman. Okay. I'll be back in a couple minutes, and then we'll look at this, and then we'll play Alone in the Dark, because that's already been 2 hours of yapping. So I'll be back in a couple minutes. Don't burn anything down. Okie dokie. What happened? I don't get it. Wait, what happened, Corvo? What's the deal? What's the shebang? What happened? Who's on fire? Who's on fire? What's on fire? All right, I had to let the dogs out too. So, to set the world on fire. Hey, good song choice. Full of the flesh and so much more. All right, turn it down. Turn the music down a little bit. We're not going to go all the way down. But hold on. I want to see what this is. Okay. Technocracy movement was a social movement active in the United States and Canada in the 1930s, which favored technocracy as a system of government over representative democracy and concomitant partisan politics. Historians associate the movement with engineer Howard Scott's Technical Alliance and Technocracy Incorporated prior to the internal factionalism that dissolved the later organization during the Second World War. Technocracy was ultimately overshadowed by other principles for dealing with the crisis of the Great Depression. The technocracy movement properly replaced partisan. Okay. The movement was committed to abstaining from all partisan politics and communist revolution. Gained strength in the 30s and the 40s due to opposition in World War II. It was banned in Canada. The ban was lifted in 1943 when it was apparent that Technocracy Incorporated was committed to the war effort, proposing a program of total conscription. The movement continued to expand during the remainder of the war, and new sections were formed in Ontario and the Maritime provinces. In 2013, they established a newsletter and website and hold member meetings. Smaller groups included the Technical Alliance, the New Machine, and the Utopian Society of America. I don't trust anything that aims for pure utopia. Christina was right there. I'm stupid. Listen, y'all still did fine. Y'all did fine. It's okay. Let me put that away. And then we can go ahead and go back to the full chat screen. Okay, let me see the rest of this really quick. I want to see if technocracy advocates contended that price system-based forms of government and economy are structurally incapable of effective action. Okay. And promoted a society headed by technical experts, which they argued would be more rational and productive. Maybe, as long as that professional is a real, actual professional. I read Mawinner. Mawinner, did you hear about the Maduro situation? Which one? Which Maduro situation? I put A at the end instead of O. Venezuela. I had quote professioner. To spread the good word of Gen 5 Pokemon. Disgusting! Disgusting! Gen 3's where it's at, baby. More like pure copium. Listen, it works, okay? It works. Professioner. Gen 3, let's go. Gen 3's best Pokemon generation. All right. Also, wait, who brought up Maduro as in the, I guess, the Venezuelan prime minister? Wait, who said that? I already missed it. Corvo did. Nicolas Maduro, yes. Which one? The fact that he seized the presidency legally, or what did he do now? Please tell me he did not. 1 month ago, 3 weeks ago, 1 month ago. Hi, Circular, thank you. Moscow Victory Day Parade, the one with the CGI shots in the live footage. What? To go to Russia and the USA rescued some people without a shot being fired? Like, Like he fled the country. He fled the country. What is up with my English today? Jesus. Fled. Yes, he turned into a flea. All right. This is the picture of Scott Howard that I remember seeing. Ugh. Don't think I even want to know. I don't think I even want to know. Science of social engineering, scientific operation of the entire social mechanism to produce and distribute goods and services to the entire population of this continent. For the first time in human history, it'll be done as a scientific, technical, and engineering problem. There will be no place for politics or politicians, finance or financiers, rackets or racketeers. Technocracy states that this method of operating the social mechanism of the North American continent is now mandatory because we have passed from a state of actual scarcity into the present status of potential abundance, in which we are now held to an artificial scarcity forced upon us in order to continue a price system, which can distribute goods only by means of a medium exchange. Yeah, that sounds great. But I remember there was a problem here. I remember there was a problem with this movement, and I'm pretty sure, but I'm not 100% sure. It called into question that it could only be for like white people or something like that. From Panama to the North Pole and the natural boundary of this area make it independent, self-sustaining geographical units. And they wanted to rework the calendar? Huh. Wait, the weekend effect? What game are we playing today? Alone in the Dark. Yeah, we're going to be playing the remake of Alone in the Dark, not the like really crummy oh Jesus Christ, they have IDs? Huh? Energy certificates, which would have a table with the information of a citizen's identification, age, sex, occupation, location, energy allotment, purchases made, the issue date and expiration date of certificates, formatted in a Dewey Decimal System. Each individual would be issued a booklet of the certificates. This would sometimes called an energy distribution card. Equal allotments of energy. It suggested that citizens under the workforce age of 25 would still have an allowance of energy totally independent from parents or guardians. Retired citizens at 45 would still get their allotments. Citizens out of work would still receive their allotments. Citizens cannot trade or give away certificates. They can only spend energy at verified vendors. Once a purchase is made at a vendor, the energy used is made void. The vendor does not gain the used energy. Therefore, there is no circulation of energy or hoarding of energy. Certificates have an expiration date. Any energy not used will become void, and on a given date, the citizen will receive their new allotment of energy. Once again, no citizen can hoard energy. You saying that we're post-scarcity society than rationing? And no, they're not rationing it. It basically just guarantees that people aren't like indulging in overabundance. It's post-scarcity, but like there's abundance for everyone instead of like poverty for most and abundance for few. It's equalizing. It's equalizing, you understand, right? It's post-scarcity, yes. But that means there's enough for everybody, but not enough for abundance for everybody. That makes sense? I don't know, this is a weird system. Certificates have an expiration date. Okay, we read that. Certificates are directly tied to an individual's ID. Therefore, it cannot be stolen or used by someone else. Okay. Dr. Lobotomist, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Asking for refuge for... He's asking for refuge from Putin, not for Putin. Because USA raided a place that were holding some people that were opposing Maduro, and because they were no conflict, Maduro is afraid to go back to Venezuela. Ooh. Good. stay over there. Lose your country. You stole it anyway. You fucking cheat. Please, Mr. Putin. Please, Mr. Putin, won't you give me refuge? The country I fucking rigged an election to win. He thinks people are going to rebel? Good. They should. And I'm pretty sure they have been. I hope at this point the military just kind of gives up. Please, Mr. Putin. Please, Mr. Putin, won't you keep me safe? Won't you keep me safe and away from those deranged citizens? Why am I like this? Why am I like this? All right. I think we are good here. And we can go ahead and get moving over to... Let me make sure I change the category. Oh, where is it? There it is. Alone in the Dark 2024. Okay. A dictator refuge now? Hasn't it... I was gonna say, hasn't it almost kind of always been... I forget, there was other South American dictators that like fled, I'm pretty sure, to Russia in the late 1900s too. I'm pretty sure that's kind of like whenever your country's been destabilized and like run over by America, essentially, then like you can't really go running to America. So you go running to the next best thing. So like the Soviet Union, I know Assad's in Russia. I know also like, what is it? What's his name? The whistleblower. His first name Ben? The American whistleblower, like the greatest whistleblower of all time. That apparently people completely forgot existed. Snowden. Edward Snowden, yes. Yep. All right, let me get this game open. Where are you? All right. Now, I have not seen jack diddly shit about this game, so I have no idea what this is going to be like. I'm going to get it open and get like all the audio and stuff fixed before. Okay, this is fine. Okay. Displaying. Motion blur high? Are you insane? Doesn't look like it's actually here. Windowed full screen. Okay. Let's go ahead and swing over. Hi, chat. Game. Change that. Working? Okay, there it is. FPS unlimited? Is that what it's set to? Oh no. Okay, we are gonna change that too. 90. We'll leave everything on epic for now. I don't think we're gonna have any problem. Although, we'll turn on DLSS. Enables preloading of shaders, can reduce freezing and stuttering in certain setups. Adds a significant memory cost. The game must be restarted. Okay, that's fine. Go back. Yes, accept. Audio and text real quick. Text, subtitles on. Subtitle size. We're gonna make those bigger. By default designed for? Expectation that your monitor is already set with a limiter, maybe? Or that a person actively wants the like best possible. If it chugs OBS much, you might have to turn it down a little bit. That makes sense. I usually don't have any issues with single player Monster harder, resources are scarce. We're just gonna do standard, because I'm a baby. Ooh. Extra help provided to make the experience smoother and easier, including hints and helpful highlights. Those who want to figure out everything for themselves, no extra systems. I want modern because I'm stupid. Is for matching the monitor's FPS? Yeah. But you have to set that. You can actively set it. Frog! Froge! Ginella Froge. Also, hold on. I want to change a thing really quick. Oh! Wasn't ready for that. Hi, buddy. You look more like a caiman than a crocodile, but I think it's supposed to be a crocodile. I want to change the size of the Ko-fi bar. Is that better? That's impossible to read.
So, your uncle. What's wrong with him?
He's possessed.
He is. Are you certain?
Devil?
Something like that.
That is still a little hard to read, but I
This
kind
is
of
a
want it
dark man
smaller.
following him. Watching him. at all
Bombadillo,
times.
crocodillo.
What do you make of it?
It's nonsense, of course. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't bother me.
Are you sure this is
You see,
epic?
It runs in my family.
Are you sure this is the epic setting? Because these guys look way better in like
No,
the
detective.
fucking art and pictures. Did I fuck
Deteriorating
up turning on
world.
DLSS?
Practically every member of the Hartwood family is driven mad before they grow old.
I can't even pause it. Egrets.
But Jeremy didn't kill himself. Is that why he's at your setup?
Last year?
Despite being convinced that he is
Yeah, it's
truly
Jim Hopper.
possessed, he decided to put his last chips on Dr. Gray and his psychoanalysis, figuring he might stumble upon
Where's
some
the
cure.
tra-la-la-la? Tra-la-la-la? The environment looks
You
decent. It's
mentioned
just
the letter.
He received
Jesus.
a disturbing letter from Jeremy accusing the
Coffee and
staff and all
Streets.
the other patients.
That's French
of being
Quarter.
involved in some
I've been there.
And now they are also out.
Pretty sure
for
that's
nothing.
French Quarter.
Could it be real?
Pretty sure it's
all
Royal
just
Bourbon
insane?
Dauphine. I could be
It's a
off though. I
story
could be
he tells
quite a bit
himself,
off.
Mr. Carnby. Anything to avoid the truth.
Camped out here somewhere with the Vanderling.
That we're all terribly insignificant.
My film reel looking
that people
sepia.
mean so very little to one another. That there
I think
is
it's
no
just
one else
sunset.
but Jeremy
I don't think it
Hartman
looks
because he
that
isn't worth
sepia. Like it's not sepia filtered. I think it's just sunset. Ducato.
My uncle's not well, Mr. Carnby. I want to make sure he's all right.
Then what's my part in this? You couldn't get a cab?
I just wouldn't.
He
trust
has a
what's going on.
gun. So like, what is the plan? This feels.
Did you bring a gun?
Oh no, I totally can't see the fucking
You'll
handle.
actually come to that.
No. But you might need to wave it around depending on how agreeable the staff will be.
Look at her stare.
What exactly are we gonna do when we find Jeremy?
Maybe I turned the
No.
brightness up too
Let's
high.
just find him first.
I turned it up like 2 ticks. Oh, good lord. Character selection. Oh, that's right. There's like 2 different stories. Depending on like who you pick, isn't there? That's right. Hi, Spudley. Son of a bitch. We're gonna play her. I like her gumption. This feels like a film that Emot would stream on movie nights. It's, from what I've heard from some of these like Alone in the Dark games, it's almost better to watch a video on them than it is to play
So
them.
quiet. Where is
Not only
everyone?
because they're kind of like
It's a big place.
hit or miss.
Maybe they're on the other side of the house.
Stay here. I'll have a look.
Not only are they like hit or miss in most of their cases, this already kind of hurts my eyes to look at. She's got moxie, baby. Moxie. Multiple stories per character choice. Yeah, but there's also like a lot of like, oh, Jesus, the sensitivity. Okay, hold on. Controls. Button mash. I'd rather just turn that off. So because then it's just hold the button. Then have to end up like breaking my space bar or something. Video. Epic. Upsample lower resolution images in the high resolution one, only supported by video cards. Can I? Okay. Like cinematic? Okay. There was a higher resolution? There's one better than Epic? Okay, this is fine. Jesus, okay, this sensitivity still feels ridiculously high. Holy shit. Okay. Ooh. Think I can push this engine? Nope, not a chance. God, why are we so hunched? Hello? Hello? Oh, hey, a key and a flashlight. Don't mind if I do.
What's this?
That is obviously a flashlight. Did I also pick up the key? That was of... Why did it do like the fade to black and then play a little animation? Open. Kitchen garden key. V is for flashlight. Okay. I mean, the lighting looks pretty decent, at least. From, like, the flashlight. Hello, Mr. Obama? I don't know. This game already really isn't selling me, even if it's a remake of a classic. Rats. Hello? Kitty. Okay, I'm glad you gave me bullets. I don't have anything to shoot with. That's just darkness. That was just eyes and darkness. We didn't even get to see anything. We just heard it. Okay, we got a lock here.
I don't think I'll be able to get in there.
Schrodinger's cat. Schrodinger's cat. Here we go. English. Also, I don't need my glasses anymore. I've been wearing my glasses this whole stream. Hello, Venus? What are you? A hole? Oh, wait, no, there's a bucket down there. A plate piece? Oh, I do have a gun. Huh. Didn't even realize that. Oh. Well, you can tell when the game's trying to render something in. Here, let's do this. We're gonna change... display? No. Video. Bring this down to 60. Because stream is technically only in 60. Really, the 90 is like for my own enjoyment. Look at that bird. Tree. Ooh.
This must be older than Derceto. They've built the house around it.
Yeah. Anybody else getting like what is the Shub-Niggurath vibes from this? The extra 30 for herself. Who said you need to enjoy the moment? This is all about suffering, as is life. What do you mean this is about suffering? I wanted to enjoy this game. I was given this game. Okay, we came in through that door. Can we go in here? Here.
I need the key.
No. Can I kind of hustle? Close look environment that reveal nearby interaction points. Oh, there's a key over there. Housekeeper's key. Okay. Very interesting idea. They shouldn't have given me this. Now I'm gonna be annoying about it and just like constantly be clicking it. Drink. Laudanum. Not actually a door we can go through. What about this other door? You see, you throw keys at the enemy. What? Also, I fucking love that staircase. Do y'all remember when we played, oh, what was it called? Stab enemies with keys. Oh, I'm brain farting. What was it? Forgive Me Father 2, when we played Forgive Me Father 2. Find the front door and let Detective Karn be inside. Hold on, didn't I just see, like, drops or something? I don't know exactly what year this takes place in, but I'm pretty sure this is...
I'll just take this.
More drink! Okay, so apparently hitting 1 puts away and picks up my gun. Oh, rats. Box. Bullets. 1 bullet. Family Bibble, a clue.
Every day your silence weighs
Oh, it's placed.
It's been a difficult year for everyone, and many have lost all hope.
Well, I'm trying to get up for
I read in
y'all.
the papers about people suffering. Pictures of
Read in the
dust-covered
papers.
landscapes without a drop of water. I wish I knew if you were still.
Oh, this is during the
earth,
Dust Bowl.
or
Wouldn't that mean this
if you
is
had
the
turned your back
30s?
against us. I have started to look for help
Or
elsewhere.
is it earlier than that?
I pray you will tell me if I'm going
New
down
Pope,
a
no
path
Bi-
that
new
you
Bible
find
remix.
disagreeable. With help from Baptiste and Charlotte, I found comfort in the practice of the voodoo. I have long been skeptical of that Caribbean cult, but it's been of good use to me.
Voodoo, you say?
It seems all harmless in my book. I say some words dreamt up by the Creoles, and I carry around
And it
a
looks like
small
this is actually
pocket of
written
Greek
literally in
word.
the back of the Bible.
Nothing of this is mentioned in the Bible, of course, but the French Quarter priestess tells me it's all connected. She says the Christian God is just one more perspective on the creator of things. That's what I like
I know
to
some
think,
people...
but
Uh-oh. Black
the
Sabbath
other way
Reverend, shut
around.
up.
That the spirits of her faith
Should have to drop
are just
Bible
aspects
mixtapes?
of you,
No.
our heavenly Father.
Do you really want 70 and 80-year-old men
I'm so grateful for the
pitching
words you gave, Mr.
mixtapes?
Hartwood.
I
We will
don't. Also,
sing
Lucian,
your
I'm sorry, I missed this, but
praises
thank you
at
for doing your
St.
season
John's Eve.
pass.
The
How
world
doing?
will be blessed
How doing?
soon again. Only the sacrifices of the Old Testament compare to your demands. Let it be the truth. A mother of earth, wood, and dirt. A mother of 1,000 young.
Sacred sand, $1. Black cat oil, $1.50. Devil shoestrings, $0.25. That makes $2.75, madame.
What was that you were telling the doctor? A goat without horns. What does that mean?
Ah, you must have misheard me, madame. I said no such thing.
Please, I know I don't look like any of you, but I'm devout. I'm ready to do what it takes.
Chat, I think we already have a spoiler. You know when I said it looked like Chudninger off? That was just a guess. I didn't expect to be actually right, because now we already have a mother of 1,000 young, a goat without horns. Sheep go around. God damn it. God damn it. It is very interesting that that conversation was like woven in there, even though it wasn't like in the text. That was actually kind of cool. But I wonder if like the character hears it or if that's just something for the player. Oh, that's an iron. Hello? Oh my god, the kitchen. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Bunch of keys here. Couple locks too. The freezer box. Why are there bullets in the freezer box? Why are there so many bullets in the kitchen? More bullets! Okay, I don't like how many bullets it's giving me. Oh. I don't like when the lag comes around. That was a lot of... Jeebus. Jeebus. Stuck at noon. It's definitely not noon. Okay. There also looks like there's a lock on this door. Hello? Okay. Rat poison? Squeal no more. Rat and vermin killer. Amazing.
What was that?
Are non-essential items that you can find throughout the game. Completing sets will uncover forbidden knowledge and sometimes even more. Hello? Oh, the oven's open. No, that's not the oven. That's the firebox. Unlit firebox. I don't know what the monsters in this game look like. I'm scared. Hello? I don't want to go this way yet. It's a fucked up wall. That's a fucked up wall too. Why are all these walls fucked up? Oh. Didn't we come through this room? No, we did not. Sabotage clue.
Please do not touch the boiler. It is working after all. While the sabotage has caused a leak, only the decorative plate has been completely ruined. Let's wait for Mr. Chance to turn up and he can take a look at the leak.
Mr. Waits. Okay, so now we have a Mr. Chance and a Mr. Waits. Are these fuses? Okay, that looks like this. Oh, fuck, it's a sliding puzzle. Okay, it doesn't seem like I can do it yet. Question mark? Because, like... Yeah, I guess I have to get the...
That doesn't look safe. There's something missing.
Did y'all hear that? Was that the boiler? It sounds like there's something breathing on the other side. Okay, Okay, if I end up having like a Resident Evil moment where I open a door and there's just a horror beyond my comprehension on the other side, I'm going to hate it. I'm going to completely hate it. Not what I meant by a combination lock on the boiler. Hello, horrors beyond my comprehension. We've already had Lovecraft mentions, or at least hints. Nothing in there? All right. Peaches. Oh no, there's a letter. Streetcar ticket, New Orleans Public Service. Remember, kids, support your local streetcars. Or LRT, or whatever they call. Just whatever you do, don't let them turn it into a BRT. Or even worse, a jab. Just a bus. Cheap bastards. Okay, so we don't have a key for that door. So, well, we already do know that there's a shit. Look, wait a second. Yes, queens. Oh, it does. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I just missed it. Yeah, I can get y'all the heart rate monitor. Hold on. I'm not like all that anxiety ridden, but I can get it for y'all. Yeah. No longer alone. False advertising. New Orleans and San Francisco, I believe. Not entirely true. With like their original streetcars, yes. With their original streetcars, yes. The usual style, like what we just saw on that ticket. They have like that little bit of overhang and the glass surrounding it. But streetcars and trams are effectively the exact same thing. So if you ever see LRT, which is like light rail transit, or where is my... When was the last time we turned this on? Okay, connecting. 0 again. I am dead. I am apparently dead. Come on, work, damn you. It's connected, but... Hold on, let me check. No, I feel my heartbeat. Going to TeamSpeak, connecting. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Here, let me close it. Close like all the programs on my phone. And then reopen it. There we go. All right, I'm going to also really quickly move it. That's still the same position it was in the last setup. Heart monitor. Put it like there. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I don't think we can do anything else down here. I'm pretty sure whatever that dot is, it's like through the wall. Okay. Does this mean this is what? I need to add like redstone in the sky at some point. Alright, we're going upstairs. Ooh, snazzy.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls will shock your soul, seal your doom tonight.
Hello? Blocked. The bathroom. What do we have here? Marvelous Science, a weekly review of progress in industry, science, invention, and mechanics. Books are obsolete, are they? I hear things creaking. Protect me, I'm afraid of communists, not a communist. Not afraid of communists. Why are you afraid of communists? There's a key up there. Mikado floor plans. Nice. Orderly. Orderly. Small parlor, library. Oh, it'll actually tell us if the puzzles... Okay, y'all can't see it super well. Yeah. Okay, this isn't working. Hold on. Go over here. There we go. Player position, puzzle, solvable puzzle, explored, completed, locked door, unlockable, bolted door. That's actually pretty neat. I like that. I like that. All right. Okay, it doesn't look like I can actually change the floor right now. So if we want to go in, yeah, that's the locked one. That's the dining room. These just rooms 1, 2, 3. Okay. Piazza.
What's this?
I wonder too. Oh. Maybe it is this. Doesn't seem to be, actually. Don't forget to drink your laudanum. Lottie's diary.
June 22nd. I spent all day looking for Jeremy. I should have cared for the others, but I'm scared that he will do something irreversible.
The ghost of the dead communist is haunting me, woman. Who's haunting you?
That Waits brought from the post office yesterday.
Whilst taking a giant shat. Hi, Nightmare.
But the company didn't
How
send
goes?
me
Nightmare, did you end up playing this game the other
so
night?
The box is just sitting there on my desk.
Does it feel weird to
They
you?
must have
Is
figured
something
we
off
had
about this
plenty
game?
of their gimmicky keys by now. I only remember seeing one lately. Grace was playing with it inside the grand parlor. Unless it turns up by itself, it will have to wait. I have to figure out where Jeremy is. I think Jack knew something. That dog of his found a strange rot permeating the house. She's showing us, he said. Like those blots and streaks of fetid rot was talking to him.
It's the purple boy! Can I get a shout out for Nightmare Nexus? Peanuts! Oh my god. Fairbanks rubbed their peanuts on the wall. Those just like regular wall cracks. Okay. Can I, if I hit M, oh, hold I to open map. Okay. I don't want to go upstairs if I don't have to. Piazza. Hello. Yes, hello. I don't know why M isn't the fucking map button. Instead, it's I. Very odd. Okay, we're gonna save the piazza for after this. I'm gonna go the other direction if we can. Hello.
I need the key.
Oh, son of a bitch. Okay. We're not gonna go upstairs yet. Scampers, scampers, scampers. Ooh, bear. If that bear comes to life, I swear to God. Okay. Okay then, let's we'll go this way first. Of course, there's another key. Okay. Gonna go. Broken shit, broken shit, broken shit. The Picayune
The Great
Post?
Depression. President Hoover raises
Or her story
tariffs on
changes
over
it all?
20,000 imported goods in an act to protect American labor.
President Hoover!
Following the collapse of the Wall Street stock market on October 24 last year, American industry has suffered greatly.
Thousands of
Thousands
companies gone
have gone
bankrupt.
bankrupt and left a large part of the American workforce unemployed. In an attempt to turn the tide, the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act has been signed by President Herbert Hoover. By regulating commerce with foreign countries, the government hopes to encourage the industries of the United States to compete with cheap foreign imports. Superstition on rise. New Orleans voodoo stores and spiritual mediums see increased profit during troubled times. While the market has faced hard times ever since Black Thursday of last year, voodoo doctors and snake charmers see significant rise in number of customers. With the coming Eve of St. John on the 23rd, the police expect increased cult activity around Bayou St. John,
there you go. I'm
the
glad somebody
southern
else caught
shore
it.
of Lake Pontchartrain. Voodoo rituals in that area on the eve of St. John have a long tradition reaching
Wait
back
a
to the
minute.
first snake
It's almost
worshippers
like that
brought
sort
as
of
slaves
strategy
from
doesn't
West Africa.
work.
During the 19th century, its practice was popularized by the legendary Marie Laveau.
It's way
and
creepier
has
than they
since
are
been
in the other
embraced by
games.
many
I
of
agree.
the Creoles and the surviving aristocracy of the French Quarter.
French
Author
Quarter.
seeks asylum. Rumors regarding author Cassandra Beauregard making Derceto her home verified. Derceto
Verified?
Hospital is an old plantation building on
Otaku
the
fan,
eastern
David Apollo,
shores of
welcome
Lake
in. Enjoy the show.
Pontchartrain. While often considered an asylum for the insane, residing Dr. Elmore Lee Gray prefers to think of it as a convalescent home, a place where you can go to rest. The patient list is
Oh,
kept
okay, this is
secret,
the lake
but
outside
thought
New
to
Orleans, if I
include
remember correctly.
many of
The
the black
basically
sheep
swamp
of
lands.
wealthy families, because at Derceto, treatment does not come for free. Local author Cassandra
Education doesn't cover
Beauregard
much
has
past World
now
War
been
II.
confirmed
Yeah.
by her own admission. She's been lauded as a powerful Creole voice and written many
6
successful
times
books.
in 2 months. Listen,
Lately, it was
it's
reported from
fine.
Hollywood that she has finished a moving picture manuscript titled
To her
Slaughter
ankles so they don't
Gulch.
fall. What? You
The
what?
film is set to hit
Oh.
the theaters next
Huh?
year.
Slaughter Gulch. Okay, so are we gonna find the author here, mayhaps? Rubber stamp. Oh, interesting. Forbidden knowledge, forbidden knowledge. Secret objective. A dog collar and a pin is what those look like. Ding. 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 I think the spell's broken. Ah,
Use a
keys.
key.
This is a shockingly spiffy place. Also, random question, but does anybody else get, like, love the satisfying thunk of a grandfather clock? Anybody else? This is terrible service. I agree. And this is blocked. Is that a help button, or is that just... Is there one on this wall? I think that is a help button. Every time these doors close, though, they give me the anxiety that, like, anything on the other side could have changed. And that kind of stress. If I open this door and that bear is gone, I'm gonna lose my goddamn mind. Okay. Oh, that's the front door.
Wait, don't.
Excuse me? Do you know where I can find Jeremy Hartwood?
Of course not.
McCarthy, what are you doing?
Where did y'all come
I told
from?
you not to lose sight of the girl.
Don't you worry, Mags. I'll find that little rascal.
Who are you?
Why didn't he want
What
us
are
to
you
close
doing
the
here?
door?
I'm sorry about all this, but I'm looking for my uncle. His name is Jeremy Hartwood.
What are you doing,
Where
child?
the fuck did you come from?
Be alone. Go find McCarthy.
Who are you? Are you here for the Fay Dodo?
Go upstairs now.
The Fay-Do-Do?
My name is Emily Hartwood. I'm the niece of Jeremy Hartwood. This is Detective Carnby.
The police.
Carnby, you say? Wait a
Why
second.
are you here?
No,
Wait
I'm
a
a private
second.
investigator. Sorry to bother you. My client's worried about her uncle.
Where's
He's
Grim?
a patient here at Derceto.
Grim?
If you don't mind, could you direct us where
What
to
is
find
this man's first name?
No, I can't. Jeremy has
What is
gone
this
missing.
man's... No.
Leave your information. I will
didn't.
make sure
Hold
to
on.
contact you.
Wait, he ran away?
No, he won't leave the house. He's around here somewhere, and both of our orderlies
Okay,
are
it's
looking
Edward
for him.
Carnby.
That's unacceptable.
Edward Carnby.
Where's Dr. Gray? I want to speak with him immediately.
At least, for a second, I was like, I swear to
ask
God,
him.
if this man's name was
Wait
William
here and
Carnby,
don't
I'm
touch
fucking
anything.
choke slamming Grim. You must say coffee? Do you really just check to make sure we were still standing here?
You want to see Jeremy's room?
Can you show us?
Follow me.
Do you trust a child in a mansion that is supposedly a, I hate those statues. There's no way those statues are good for people with mental health problems. Those would drive me insane. Oh, an external lock and lag.
Thank you.
I don't trust a child, period. Agreed.
Strange kid.
Let's look around.
Oh,
see
there's
what
like
we
a
can find.
workshop in here. I think you mean voodoo. Oh, no. Oh, a lockbox. Am I like... There's clicking and stuff happening. But like... It looks exactly like a slide puzzle. Also requires a key. No, we'll do that in a second. Commonplace book.
Every night the dark man stands opaque at the threshold of my room.
The dark man?
The days until my spirit spills out of my tired shape. Only his pallid
Would you trust
mask
the child?
shelters
No.
my remaining sanity. Staring directly into the face of that demonic sultan would surely sunder time itself. Will you look the same to my father as he struggled for his life? Does his veiled face haunt my niece quite the same way?
No,
I wish
question mark?
So that I could rest my soul in that sunburnt.
I was hitting E. E doesn't really do anything.
Would I find you there, Juan? Or Senora Perosi? Back from the beyond?
Rosie?
Every night I hide from him, moving from one misshapen memory to another. Scenes conjured out of fantasy and delirium.
The correct E? I only have one E. I don't think I have any other E's.
I wish I understood your death, Senora.
Oh my God, there's 5
Is there
pages
anything
of this
I could
book.
do for you but bury you in that bleak necropolis? That triumphant chapel rising above the legends.
Do you think if I
in
go
the
to the
other
next
vaults
pages, it's going to
shall
essentially
be your sepulcher, where you may rest, and I shall weep. How did you first come to understand such things, Senora? How did you know that the battered boil in the basement would lead me to Lafayette Cemetery? Or how the old upstairs clock, with its astronomical motifs, would take me to that hateful mound outside of Claremont Harbor? Those are my memories, my past. Is there perhaps a chance, if ever so small,
hence the VO?
that
Yeah,
sea
thank
carry
God.
away? Oh, I want that more than anything. Please, let my talisman take me there.
Talisman?
Let me sit with Juan under his Bodhi tree.
His Bodhi tree?
Despite having sold me that talisman, Miss Jackson, the voodoo priestess, revealed none of her secrets to me. That's why I had to travel to Tonka. Instead...
Hey, listen, at least we haven't run into anybody named Boudreaux or Thibodeau yet. And I hope it stays that way.
Killed in the
I don't think I could handle a Boudreaux or
that the one
Thibodeau.
he loved would pierce his thigh with a sharp spear, and that he would be devoured by his own mother. What
Okay,
a
so
terrible
Batiste is
thing to
his
say.
caretaker. Okay.
The people of Deseto were becoming dangerous. They do not understand what they are doing. I must do something to stop them. I tried talking to Dr. Gray, but he confuses my worries. He's caught up in treating me. How can he expect evil to be cured with medicine and conversation? The orderlies, the housekeeper, and the patients are all deranged. They will.
It really kind of feels like they're giving away a lot of the
world.
game with just
All
these,
would
like,
be lost.
notes?
Everything.
How long is this game?
Unless I can find the clerk, Mr. Waite. He seems to be a clear-thinking man. Maybe Beauregard.
Okay, so there's the mention of Waits again.
The dark man offered me a prison, and I accepted. I signed that miscarried contract and entered the dark pact. Everyone is safe.
Okay.
Except for me.
Shitting with Juan? What do you mean shitting? And then talisman plates and sockets. There are always 3 members Stern? Stern? I think that says Stern. Players have no lore awareness or desire to read. It's also the, like, I'm pretty sure that like decorative plate that looks like a church there, the right top one, I'm pretty sure that's the one that's on the boiler. And then it looks like that talisman plate is already marked 853 as like some kind of numbers. Yeah, I don't see any others. Yeah, 853 is marked on there. And it looks like the cracks on that other plate line up. Is that what this game is doing? Is it giving... Oh. Okay. So apparently you found the tile inside there. So let's go ahead and just do this real quick. Okay, that was easy. The letters! What do they mean? That's the clock. Also, why does the man have no skin?
Have you ever seen anything like this?
That's the clock he
Looks
mentioned
like a
in the notebook.
You mean like this one?
Okay, that looks like something straight out of the Sunken City. Oh, that's his talisman. Okay.
Can you find me a knife to cut the canvas? I want to take this with me.
You want to take the painting? Sure, I'll find one.
You have a gun, but you don't have a knife, sir. You have the forthwith to bring... Both of you have the forthwith to bring a gun. But nobody brought, like, a pocket knife? Darkness. Darkness enveloping me. I know the ad break started. I can't... I don't want to skip. I can't pause the cutscene. Huh?
I found this tube as well. Should keep it safe for you.
Where did you find the tube?
Do you want to carry it or should I?
Oh, yes. Tinnitus.
Miss Hartwood. Emily?
I'll take it. Thank you.
We're done here, right?
Did, like, all of these patients just do art?
I don't know how to do any of this.
Listen, I think we should talk to Dr. Gray.
The man painted that he was a sculptor. He had... Look at this shit. This man's, like, fucking incredible. Tinnitus, the real horror.
Come on, I don't want to be here all night.
Okay.
Detective Carnby?
Oh, that was painful. Did y'all see the like one frame of her like jacket glitching out? The fucking photo! Is this cutscene literally gonna last? It's gonna last through the entire commercial break.
What on earth is happening? What is this place?
Oh, hey, we're back in the French Quarter. New Orleans flag right there. Okay, now you've got less than a minute. Here, we'll just hold it. We'll just pause it here. Good night, Curbelo. Sleep well. Got a 1930s ass GoPro on her jacket. That's our flashlight. That's our electric flashlight. Goodness. I was wondering why cube. I don't think it's necessarily a cube. It looks more like a pocket thing. But it's very much like an old-fashioned, or very early electric flashlight. But we've only got 15 seconds on the ad break, so we're just gonna wait it out for a little bit. Rectangular prism with rounded corners. Yeah, pretty much. Elongated cylinder? Elongated cylinder could also be a description. All right. All right, guys, sorry about that. Welcome back from the ad break. The what is it? The cutscene kind of just played through almost the entire ad break, and you can't pause cutscenes apparently. Investigate the corner store. So I guess I'm looking to go there. I'm gonna guess that's. Oh, hello. Oh, where'd you come from? 4 bullets. Uh oh. Don't have the key for that. Anything else I am missing? Question mark. Oh. Just that. Okay. Hey, we actually. Oh. Look at that fucking mirror effect. What the shit? Hello? Horrors beyond my comprehension. Doors covered. Doors covered. Ugh, bugs. I feel like they didn't think the like animations of these. Didn't think up these animations properly. Are you serious? Jesus.
What the hell was that thing?
There's the fucking another one. See, I see that. Son of a bitch. Okay. Why does that use so much ammo so early on? Please tell me I get a better gun later. Please tell me I get a better gun later. Because that takes what? I have like 7 shots. Yeah, it takes basically 8 shots. Assis, did you ever play the original? No, I did not. I have never played Alone in the Dark. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Oh, more bullets.
I can't go that way.
Okay, that was a lot more ammo than we were just getting like 2 of earlier. God, I love old colonial French architecture. The Daily Bulletin.
This can't be.
What corner are we on? It used to distract them? Wait, what items can I use? Oh, there it is. Okay, what enemies? Sprint! Yeah, I'm sure the drink out of the trash can is totally safe. Johnny the Conqueror of Roots and Medicines. Johnny. Okay, it looks like weirdly I can ring the bells on all these bikes. to time warping. I don't know if this is... Okay, I think these are just distractions, but there's like no other enemies. Okay, let's just go to Johnny's. Let's just go to the Johnny's. Although... Hey, you have a lead pipe? Hell yeah!
Now what's this?
Oh, Jesus!
My weapon broke!
Okay, so weapons are temporary. Cool, I guess. I kind of hate that. Was he, like, just hiding right there the whole time? I don't like that. Welcome to the farmer's market, the biggest covered market in Louisiana. Yeah. The Maccabean? Something like club. Anyway, the farmer's market in New Orleans is actually pretty neat and still exists to this day if you ever want to go. It's still there, although it's kind of filled with a little bit of tourist shops. That guy, Lucas. Hi, Lucas. They all use kind of like this half unsatisfying bell for like all of their bells. You don't get like the ting, you get the like I just slapped it and left my hand on top of it. I mean, if sound attracted enemies 16 gunshots would probably have gotten plenty of attention. True. I wonder if maybe I could have snuck past them if I didn't shoot them. What's that, big man? Holy shit!
Emily, is that you?
Baptiste?
Oh shit!
How'd you get here?
I was back at Dorsetto. Looking for my Uncle Jeremy?
Jeremy's your uncle. I didn't know.
Wait, how do you know
Well,
each
what do
other? What if the voodoo time machine disappears?
still
What is
working
the
at
voodoo time
Dorsetto?
machine?
Yeah, both me and Lottie stuck around. We're real orderlies now. You remember my sister Lottie, don't you?
But why are you in
What
the shop?
happened, Baptiste? How are we here?
You know about the dark man haunting your uncle?
I'm familiar with his mental state.
I think we all in his head somehow. Because these streets are real, but they're not like on any map. Nah, this is like when you remember something, but in the wrong way.
Oh, I should have looked at the
You know
street
how to get back
signs.
to Dorsetto? I'm not safe here.
Truer words have yet been spoken, Mrs. Marcus.
Don't call me that. It's Miss Emily Hartwood. There's no reason to call me anything else.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Miss Emily. I'm just trying to tell you like it is. This place ain't safe for no one. There's evil hiding in the dark.
How do I get back?
Only Jeremy knows.
I wonder if this game has a thing where it
Yeah,
has
it's
like a
Juju
limited number of
Megan's
enemies, or if the enemies are going to be respawning
his
or like
talisman?
continuous.
Just like it. He says it's been protecting him ever since he got it from Miss Jackson down the street.
You know where it came from? Have you been there?
I was there no more than 1 hour ago looking for Jeremy. Locked it up to keep the ghouls from getting inside.
The ghouls.
You can have the key if you want.
But wait, is she there?
Thank you.
Why would you
I'll
need to
take a
lock
look.
it up if she's there? Didn't she have the keys to lock it up herself? Jesus, the lag, dude. I'm pretty sure the lag is like... Oh, where's it? Oh. Okay. Preserved reptile. Don't mind if I do. Open you. Turn around. What other goodies are you hiding in here? Aha. Wasn't this the door that we were just at? Yeah, I guess we can't open it. Why are you so out of place? Okay. Also, does anybody else get like Live, Laugh, Love vibes from this poster? I swear they sell these posters at like Joann's and shit. Without the gris. Lol. Horrors beyond my comprehension. That door scared me. What do we got? Basin Street. Rampant Street. What the fuck is that? I don't want to do this. I don't want to play this game anymore. I don't want to play this game anymore. Can I like sneak? I mean, doesn't look like it has any heads. Oh, that doesn't work. If it suddenly screams, I'm gonna scream too. I want y'all to know that.
There's our man. There's our man. There's our boy.
Oh, jeez. Okay, it's definitely on me. Fuck you, you weird little thing. Wait, am I getting hurt by the light? Oh no, I got hurt by him. Yeah, there's just a whole bunch of bricks to throw around here. Oh, Fraggle, Fraggle. Yeah, I think it's this way. They all seem to have skipped leg day. Apparently. Also, wait, what are you? I wish to read you. Need an experienced babysitter. Birds. Okay, hold on. There's a bunch of stuff here. Oh, thank God, the fire axe. Don't mind if I do. Okay. I'm sure I won't need this. Oh, okay, I have badges. I have badges keys. Okay, that's good. This game's giving me anxiety. What the shit? The sudden difference from like... Oh, hey, big dude. Listen, you gotta love French courtyards, okay? Oh, Jesus. Okay, good talk. Oh, what was that? Hi. Kobe. Didn't work. Entrails, bile. Hold on, let's see. What are these back here? Give me that. That's just a bottle to throw. Full on ammo. Okay, I didn't think I could get full. Okay, that's just the one that's up there that we're about to have to go bullying. Oh, that's nothing to throw. All right, give me these bullets that I couldn't pick up earlier. Oh, never mind. I guess I picked them up and then I was full. Oh wait, no, they're over there. I was just looking in the wrong place. Okay, let's do this. Environmental horror and actual eeriness instead of just jump scares. Nice. True. It's also in like a kind of a familiar like architecture style, so... Oh, Jesus! I spoke too soon. There's the jump scare. Come here, bitch. I missed. Shit. Okay, I don't like these guys like lurking around corners. Can I? Okay, F if I don't have a weapon literally does nothing. No jump scares. Gets jump scared, motherfucker. Twine? A juju. Oh. The Crescent City. Okay. And the brick there. It's making me nervous. It's making me nervous. But God, you gotta love... Wait, there's a rag in that. Throw that. Maybe I can set it on fire later. Hello?
This must be Miss Jackson's place.
Okay, that's not good.
Let's see if we can find out more about Jeremy's talisman.
Okay, we're full on drink. Oh. Immediately find a lookalike?
Exactly like Jeremy's talisman.
Okay. I guess. Find your own talisman. Achievement unlocked.
I think it's meant to hold the talisman.
Oh. Okay, hold on.
I'm not sure what numbers I should use.
We need to go back. So, no, not that. Is book. Toggle. Scarlet Iviana, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Okay. 853. Okay, here, let's actually do it this way. 8, 5, 3? No? Here, do it this way. Is it what it's pointing at? Hold on. Go back. Go back. Maybe I have it backwards? No, I don't think I have it backwards. But there's also these weird symbols on it. Talisman plates and sockets. throw where there's lit candles? I mean, we still kind of hit the candles. Maybe? I don't know. Talisman plates, sockets. Okay. There we go. Yeah, I did have it backwards.
What's that picture in the glass?
That's
Where is
literally the blanket behind me. The seance table. The painting. Like, blanket. Seance table. Painting. I'm confused because there's only the drink here. Can't go that way. Looks like we can only go this way. The thing is, it looks like I don't know how to use. Let's do options, controls. Control. No, not control layout. Key bindings. How do I use different items? Those are weapons. Consume is G. Okay. Laudanum. The puzzle is puzzling. I don't know. I mean, like, this door's glowing already.
Good to see you again, Miss Hartwood.
Hello?
Mrs. Thompson told me you were here. She also alerted me that you brought a detective with you. I'm very curious to hear what this is all about.
Okay.
You don't remember me, do you, Miss Hartwood? We met at your family's house in the Garden District when your uncle was
He
about
makes
to be
me
admitted
really
under my
uncomfortable.
care.
I don't like this man.
No, I remember. Sorry. I'm not really feeling well.
Well, in that case, have a seat. Let me make you a drink.
I don't think alcohol's a good idea if
I
you're
don't
not
seem to have
feeling
made
well.
much of an impression on you. On the other hand, I can vividly recall you and your parents.
Because of our cheerful disposition, I'm sure.
You are far too intelligent to think that. You come from a joyless family, Miss Hartwood. The only amusement I took from my visit was discovering that the young lady's drink was an old-fashioned.
Hey, listen,
Very
everybody's drink is an old-fashioned when done
that supposed to
properly,
make you
okay?
seem attentive or
Everybody's likes a good little sip of an
Whatever you
old-fashioned. If you fuck up an old-fashioned, you're a fucked up
Are you
bar.
ready to tell me why you are here, Miss Hartwood? And why you brought a detective?
I received a letter from my uncle. He seems certain that he was in danger here. If I find out you're treating him badly, I'll be taking him back with me to New Orleans.
Really?
Don't drink that old-fashioned.
Is he going to live with you in your tiny garçonniere? That would be a spectacular way to ratify your spinsterhood. Because you are well aware that your
What is
father
up with
would
his
never
face?
let him back in his house. No,
Why his face moves
I
like
have
that?
it. Maybe you can bring him back up north. You've been wanting to move
I
back
don't know. It
for
feels
quite
like
a
these
few
people
years,
played like
haven't you?
Until Dawn or
You always
something,
preferred your mother's
and then decided that they could make a version of it with Alone in the Dark.
Jeremy is free to leave with you. I won't object. However, there is one problem, as you might have learned. He is, in fact, missing.
Do you know where he could have gone?
No, I'm afraid I don't. I have my staff looking for him. I'm
How
sure
long
he will
has he
show
been
up
missing?
eventually.
Is this just like a daily
Especially
thing,
if he
or?
learns that you are here. He is quite fond of you.
And with the new fashioned, what is
What
the
can
new
you tell me
fashioned? I
about his
wonder.
condition? I never heard a proper diagnosis. What is your medical opinion of him?
Well, let me think. He is an anxious man, depressed, even. He suffers from a perceived lack of order in his inner and outer life.
Perceived.
He constantly complains about events not presenting themselves according to their divine nature.
In the Dark Man?
Hard to tell if it was ever anything specific. Jeremy uses the Dark Man as a psychological scapegoat to avoid facing the truth that he is in any way at fault.
You
Theoretically
don't think there
possible.
could be any truth to the Dark Man's.
But the fact that we got teleported
Supernatural
to a
existence?
non-existent New Orleans
Why
means
would
that
you
there's
ask
something there. Why does his mouth move like that?
Can we ever
Why
be
would you
sure?
ask that?
If the
Yeah.
Dark Man is some sort of evil presence that is in possession of Jeremy,
Well,
I assure you, any evidence that you experience supporting that claim is purely delusional. Don't get caught up in mass hysteria, Miss Hartwood. You wouldn't want to take your uncle's place in this hospital, would you?
The talisman.
I'll be leaving now, Doctor. I need to keep looking for my uncle.
Do so, Miss
Did
Hartwood.
it break?
I'll let
It
you know
sounded like
if
it
he shows
broke.
up.
Please don't put caffeine in it. What? You better not. You fucking better not. Chapter 2.
Detective Hornby. God, I'm glad to see you. I was afraid you had left.
Me? You're the one who just disappeared.
It's hard to explain. I think I blacked out. It was like I went somewhere else.
It's okay, miss. You're clearly upset.
No, it's... I don't know what's happening.
This is a very
The
stressful
more I'm watching the
situation for you, I
motion
understand.
of these characters, the more it's
no,
just like,
you don't understand.
Take a deep breath. Why don't you sit down, smoke some of the Perique? If you want, I could even drive you back to New Orleans. I just want to have a talk with Dr. Gray first.
I want to stay. I found a talisman just like the one in the painting. I think I might be able to figure out where Tarawea is, where Jeremy wanted to go.
That's
Wasn't it
great.
the
Just
order?
stay out of
Wasn't that a
trouble, okay?
cult,
Let me handle the
seemingly?
investigation.
In his book, didn't they say it was like the Order of Tarawea?
I'm not crazy, Detective. Not yet.
The fucking smirk.
Okay, catch you later.
I'm also a little more shocked by like how close these two already are. It's a little weird, but I don't have any caffeine. Good. You get none.
If a talisman like this can open up doors between the French Quarter and Derceto, then maybe Jeremy is hiding in some strange world. Like Tarawea, the place he mentioned in the book. No matter where he is, it's clear that my search won't be limited to Derceto.
Okay. We get to Snoop. Repairing the boiler.
Saw your notice in the boiler room. You should know Mr. Chance won't be coming back.
Can I have double the caffeine? No.
In there myself.
No, you could not.
You can take
Y'all
a
need
bath
less
from the
caffeine.
wine
Y'all don't
cellar
need more.
Try to stop the steam pouring out. Be careful.
Okay, so it's in the wine cellar.
Paul, you're right about the plates on the boiler and the clock. They have been sabotaged, and I think I know who did
Ah,
it.
that's the sabotage
They
they were
have
talking about
something to do
before.
with Jeremy's episodes and how he seems to disappear at night. Right now, it's important that you keep an eye out for any of the pieces. I want to find out if I can repair the plates. Let me know if you find any of them. Lottie.
Tell Lottie to take a look at the well in the kitchen garden.
We already tried that. He wouldn't let us like take the piece. So maybe now we can take the piece? I guess. Room 6. Okay. Staff and patient directory.
Dr. Elmore Lee Gray is Deceto's chief doctor. Accounting and all
Jean-Baptiste
administrative work
Dubois.
is handled by me, Paul Waits. Magdalena Thompson, or Mags, is responsible for the household.
Okay. We have the list. We don't need to list everybody's name for that one. Oh, good lord. Okay. Patient records just out. Uh-oh. 6 pages. Cassandra Beauregard, female. Room number 8. Mr. Frank Chardot, literary agent. Wait. This is the author, isn't it? Jackson Square. Oh, Jackson Square. How is your address Jackson Square? Are you homeless? Order of Operations will be able to find someone who's perceived. Hi, Tia. What's up? Suffers from writer's block, needs to finish her moving picture script for the end of June. Sandra's heavy use of barbiturates is holding her back and risks ruining her career. Crime author who managed to pull herself out of poverty and into stardom. 5 years ago, she tried killing herself by jumping off a balcony. Incident left her a cripple and now relies heavily on her wheelchair. Suffers chronic back pain following her suicide attempt. She self-administers morphine to keep herself ambulant. Has become addicted and the desired effect is now lost. The drug abuse clouds her mind and she's unable to focus on real life. To save herself from the insight, she instead makes her up stories to fill up the gaps in her own thought process, resembling Korsakoff syndrome. Need to be weaned off her drug addiction, hope it'll resolve her compulsive lying, then look into permanently numbing her pain in her back through surgery, finally deal with her suicidal thoughts. Okay. Grace Saunders. Insisted on strict supervision by proper gentlemen to avoid further perversion of Grace's adolescence. Just got back from PAX after the Nightmare series of flights for the year. Jesus, did you have a good time at least? I saw the video that, shit, who posted it? Was it V? I think V posted it. I already forgot what was in that video though. I just remember seeing it be like, oh, hey, that's Tia. Modest wealth and status. Her childhood seems ordinary, spending most of her time with private teachers and family friends. Passed away, leaving her mother the sole caregiver. Trouble dealing with her father's death. She willingly suppressed her feelings on the matter and isn't properly acknowledging the trauma she suffered. She needs nothing out of the ordinary. She simply needs parental guidance. Eventually, we can work on her feelings toward her father. Wait. She arrived 1928? Arrived 1930. She's been here over 2 years. 29. Malcolm McCarthy. What was your problem? Image started simply stating he needs some damn rest. Used to work as a lawyer in Baton Rouge, but says he can't go into details because of some legal dispute. His background remains largely a mystery, except for the occasional clue that he drops in conversation. Anxious and alcoholic, he often tells half-truths due to some deep-seated inability to trust others. Or the child should be good for him. Their harmless nature will help build his sense of trust. Elizabeth Perosi, 33, question mark. From Italy? Broke into Darceto and was found wandering the Grand Parlor. She was confused and suffered partial amnesia. Suspicious she belonged here and offered to pay for her stay. Of the Astarte Artists Colony some 20 years ago, a claim that seems contrafactual due to her young age. She looks to me and even thinks she's 33 years of age. That'd make her a child at the time. It seems fair to say that Percy's story is untrue, deliberately so or not. Because she retracted her story about the artist colony, she no longer claims to be the same person as the Elizabeth Perosi. However, my staff's research has confirmed there was a Perosi at that time who was in her early 30s. Yeah, the pickle. It was the pickle. Contact the real Perosi, but it seems the whole colony disappeared one night during a hurricane. Interesting. Ruth Tallant. That's it. Burgundy Street, French Quarter. Wishes that his daughter is removed from New Orleans nightlife for the foreseeable future. He fears that her overly free spirit is tarnishing the family's reputation. She comes from considerable wealth. Her family owns several hotels and restaurants. Unlike the rest of the family, her sense of adventure has taken her in the world, including France during the Great War as a photojournalist. Many rumors about a debauched flapper bordering on nymphomaniac. She's also been here over 2 years. Interesting.
Interesting. It's all the patient files except for Jeremy's.
Rorschach. A colored Rorschach, actually. Okay. You.
Looks sturdy. Doubt I'll be opening this.
So it's done on a clock configuration. Good night, Ordain. Hold on, I'm listening. I'm listening to see if I can hear a different click, but I don't see it. I don't hear any clicks. So maybe we'll find a password later. I think we will. Get that gun away. Door. Okay.
I need the key.
Okay, I guess Baptiste's key does not work on that. Excuse me, pardon me. Okay. We gotta do a thing, because we haven't saved. Just to make sure. Just to make sure. Okay. But I think that is going to be it today, guys. We yapped a long time. It's a 4:45. I want to play more games, but like, I don't know why, but like with some of these games, I just run out of energy a lot more than when I'm just yapping with y'all. It wasn't even bad, just green olives, but blue and phallic. Is it bad? I kind of want to try it. Chat, if I added the Warhead Pickle. Oh, that's the wrong page. I forgot I still had the old chat page in here. There we go. There we go. And then let me put away the heart monitor. What if we made that the food crime? Would y'all be all right with that? Would y'all be alright if we made that the food crime? It would be neat. It could be the, what is it? Food crime is 1.2k. That is the 1.2k goal. I just pulled that up so I could check it. Old carnival sleeping through. Listen, food crimes never stop, baby. Food crimes never stop. But what's today? Today is Wednesday. So we'll be back tomorrow, you guys. We'll be back at noon CDT with full stream of just straight fucking yapping. You'll never get hear the end of it, but let me figure out who we are going to raid. I don't know who any of these people are, but Fairbanks is doing art. Anna's doing her Grand Theft Auto. Spooky is doing Look Outside. I don't know what Look Outside is. Oh, Izzy's also definitely well past where I was in the game. Spooky looks like she's playing a pixel horror game. So I think that's where I'm gonna throw y'all. Goals like the Hello Kitty goal and 43 subs. True, only 43 subs. If you hit the 250 goal total, right? It's 250, isn't it? Then we will play Hello Kitty again. And that is going to be ongoing. _Rose. I almost misspelled that. All right, guys, we'll be back yapping tomorrow. We'll have plenty of time for yap, plenty of nonsense to talk about, and no more pickleback shots again. Ooh, but I like pickleback shots. Oh, but I'd have to go buy vodka. I have no money this month. I made $397 this previous month from Twitch, not counting anything that's like going towards the housing funds and everything. And my bills were $325. Not want to play Sheep Go Round? Is there a conspiracy? Yes, because it's Hello Kitty and I play horror games. And it's funnier to incentivize y'all. But we need to do a raid message. Izzy, no! Hold on. Izzy! I saw that lunch break go up. Well, I saw that lunch break go up, Miss Ma'am. How was Expedition 33? I saw a bunch of characters on your team that I do not have yet. So I am curious about that. Oh, shit. I clicked the wrong thing. It's okay, though. At least that means that we can still raid who we are going to raid. I'm eating. Enjoy your food. Thank you so much for the raid. I'm so sorry. We can, I guess, yap for a little bit longer. And I felt a little off. That's totally all right. Well, hope you're doing all right. Are you having, is it your tummy troubles? Are your tummy troubles coming up? I'm coming up, so you better get your booty ready. I'm sorry. Okay, gotcha. Extra yap. We can yap for a couple more minutes, but welcome in, guys. How was your stream? Did y'all have a good time over at Expedition 33 at Izzy's? I just got here. I'm sorry, Jess. We just wrapped up. We just got into the second chapter of All Alone in the Dark. You're just gonna eat and chill? Hell yeah. Enjoy your night. Have some chill. Get oozed. Oh my god, grins. Thank you for the 99 bits. Raid train choo choo. All right, we can raid train. I am totally down for that, you guys, because I was gonna throw you at Spooky Rose, who is actually playing a game called Look Outside. It seems to be like an old-fashioned, I guess, JRPG, but you play as monsters. Turns out we weren't very alone. Yeah, we were in fact not very alone, and it was only dark for a little bit. I'm sure it'll get darker later on, and it's totally not about Lovecraftian horrors beyond our comprehension. I'm sure. Also, Midship Jupiter, thank you for the follow, guys. But if you guys came from Izzy's and you're still here, or you're interested in staying around for another day, we're gonna be back tomorrow, noon CDT. Tomorrow's gonna be an all day of yapping and probably watching some things here and there. I may end up showing y'all that, like, not just bikes video on, like, that garage that we nerded out about earlier today. But until then, guys, we need to come up with a raid message. What is our raid message gonna be? We need... Do we do the concerned emote? I think we do concerned, and it's just... We were, in fact, not alone in the dark. Or you could do when. You can do concerned, or you can do the wah emotes. Either or, if you have a crying emote, if you have like a really concerned emote, a scared emote, anything like that, those work great. Thank you guys so much for being here, though. Thank you for making the stream awesome. I enjoyed yapping with y'all. But until next time, guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for being awesome. And thank you for enjoying the show. Good night.